Week 2 in the Clash Royale League was full of photo finishes. I'm Rich Slayton, and this is your top 5 plays for the second week of CRL West. Before we kick things off, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you don't miss a moment of the action as the best players in the world compete for a chance at a trip to Shanghai, China. Here we go. Play number 5, Cream Real Betis Michifu and Diego E up against Código and Flash, and they are way behind, have been behind this entire 2v2 game. We jump on ahead though, and they've taken the lead. They lose it, and this Heal Spirit comes out early. Why? Not for the RG, but to distract the Fisherman. Does its job. No pull on the Royal Giant. Diego E and Michifu come from way behind. Código and Flash cannot believe they gave up the win. Look at that one more time. Heal Spirit, not for the Royal Giant, but to distract that Fisherman. Hunter comes out trying to be a part of that RG defense. Can't happen. That's number 5. On to play number 4. Boofmac versus Air Surfer, and Air Surfer has had the lead, but check this out. 64 HP left. Has to use the Fireball on defense, so it's not in cycle to finish it off here, and he can't win the foot race. Let's look at that photo finish one more time. Miner is in, Snowball is in the air, but they cannot beat out that speedy Lumberjack. Chop, chop. Boofmac takes the win. Huge one for Tribe Gaming. On to number 3. Boofmac again, this time in the opening game of 2v2 against Wings and Air Surfer with his teammate Azaleas. And check this out, the lightning just sneaks on through just as the timer changes over to 0. Let's look at just how close that was. It was absolutely insane. Like I said, close finishes all day. And look at this, the log comes through, the timer is ticking away, and that lightning hits just as the clock turns. You cannot get any closer than that. Wings can't believe it, Air Surfer can't believe it, Boofmac celebrating. Azaleas knew it was in the bag the entire time. GG, well played. Tribe Gaming went on to win, still undefeated. Our number 2 play, SK Gaming up against Team Queso. Another classic of Javi versus Ruben. This rivalry going back to CRL 2019. And this game 1 of 1v1, very close, but again, as the seconds tick away, Ruben steals it with a Fireball. Of course, Javi would go on to reverse sweep, win the set, and clutch the victory up for SK Gaming. And our top play of the week, Diego B up against his former squad and Team Liquid, playing defense against not 1, but 2 Sparkies. Has a huge lead, but that's a lot of Sparky. The Miner picks up 1 Sparky shot. Ice Wiz to slow things down. Zap trying to make enough room. It seems impossible, but Diego B more than up to the task with a perfect tornado. And then the Miner to cap it off will come in right here to pick up the mini P.E.K.K.A. And somehow Diego B stays alive, takes a huge sigh of relief, and clutches the win. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this top 5 plays. Don't forget again to subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Make sure you come back for every single weekend of CRL West, 10 a.m. in the West, 1 p.m. in the East, 7 p.m. Central European summertime, and of course, watch more videos right here. I'm Rich Slayton. We'll see you back next week for more top 5 plays.
Get the rest of the defense off. Oh my word!
Perfeita.
No! 4 in a row for Team Queso.
As we approach the midpoint of the season, things are getting tight for a number of teams, and 4 of those have a lot on the line today. 3 squads still looking for their first win. The defending world champions, Team Liquid, need to bounce back here to have a real good push at making the top 6 for playoffs. And of course, Tribe Gaming looks to bounce back after giving up their undefeated record to SK Gaming, but they have a dangerous opponent and Cream Royale Betis across from them. Hello and welcome on this beautiful Sunday to Clash Royale League West. It's the fall split. I'm Rich Slayton, that's Andrew Guy, here for all 3 matches today. As we saw yesterday, SK Gaming seems to be undefeatable, but there are so many teams right now that seem at this point to be unwinning. And can they find their way into the winner's circle? Well, at least one of those 3 will today, Andrew.
Yeah, it needs to happen. They need to turn their seasons around right now because each team will be playing 9 total matches. No one has been eliminated yet, but they got to get it in gear, and this is the day to do it. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Clash Royale League. Make sure you are joining us on YouTube and on Twitch. Do it on both. Just do it. Just join up on both, subscribe, follow, turn those notifications on. That way you never miss a match, especially as we were just talking about, we're getting closer and closer to playoffs. Every match becomes that much more important. Also, go and follow us on Twitter at Esports Royale EN. If you want to follow along in English, you can follow me at Andrew Guy. And of course, you can follow my good friend Rich at Rich Slayton. Lots of CRL content between the 3 of us. Of course, Esports Royale EN is the most important place to be for all your CRL news. Lastly, all of us casters are doing pretty dang good in Fantasy Royale. I think we're all in the high 50s. I'm actually in the low 60s. Woo! I'm very excited about it. Guys, Fantasy Royale, 250,000 gold, 100 gems, 4 players to get the most crowns every single week. Get those lineups set by Saturday morning before we go live. So obviously you're too late this weekend being Sunday morning, and we are live. And those players can be traded all week long. Make sure you get your chance to win that gold and those gems. Last thing you can win, Rich, and maybe it's a win, but you get a chance to play against a pro here on stream. Guerrero and Saint Belican will be going up again today. And of course, next week, our pro for the week is Pompeo. Do you run Balloon against Pompeo, Rich? Do you just do it?
You run the Pompeo deck. Go for glory. Beat him in his own game. Take a big swing. Take a big shot. This really is your one shot, one opportunity. Mom's spaghetti on your shirt. All that sort of stuff. So come out swinging. And good luck to all those guys going up against our pros. And talking about good luck, Andrew, there are 4 teams that all need a bit of it.
Yeah.
And it's so strange. 3 of these teams, the conversation isn't totally shocking, isn't totally surprising. They all have a lot of rookies on the squads. There's some ups and downs, but one of these teams, the defending world champions, Team Liquid, back against the wall, really need to win today against Pain.
I just don't really know what's going on. Yesterday felt more familiar, right? They did pretty well in the 2v2. They had trouble in King of the Hill, but it made sense for who they ran into. And then you talk about Igor running into Ruben in the head-to-head set. Again, we talk about that being a coin toss. It can go either way. Ruben is playing so well. So yesterday's match was more indicative of what you'd expect out of Liquid. Otherwise, though, the fact that they haven't been able to really put 2 sets together in more than one match is just, it's jaw-dropping with that much talent in one place.
The other question on that one, Andrew, talking about people who are doing their double headers, second time out for this weekend is Chivas Esports, who, again, the pieces seem like they're so close, right? Diego B and Pompeo are doing well in 2v2 and doing well in head-to-head, but it seems that they can't get a full team clicking at the same time.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the matches of this week and this weekend, and we can see what happened yesterday. Obviously, still teams struggling, and of course, starting our match day off today with 2 squads looking to find a win. So yesterday, we saw Queso take down Team Liquid with great plays by Ruben. You and I both called him our MVP at the end of the day. I said Javi, but I honestly think you won me over. Dignitas going up against Chivas Esports. Still, Chivas really struggling there. And of course, SK going up against Space Station Gaming and staying perfect through 5.
Yeah, I mean, SK looks absolutely dominant right now. It'll be curious to see if anyone can unseat them in the next 4 matches. Today, though, our lineup, we start things off with Misfits and Chivas, and kind of a shocking spot for both squads. Still looking for that first win, and a loss today could really put a hammer, not just in their playoff prospects, but overall in terms of their matchups with teams they might compete against for those bottom spots. Tribe Gaming trying to bounce back and stay relevant in that top 4, maybe that top 2 conversation against Cream Royale Betis. Dangerous with Michifu going off multiple times. And then finally, Pain Gaming, feeling the pain of that vacated win, will face off against Team Liquid in a match that should have been against two one-win teams. Instead will be a little bit different, Andrew.
Yeah, and speaking of things being different, only in the first match do we have people kind of going back and forth, which makes a lot of sense, because if you talk about Misfits, they've never won a 2v2 set. Chivas Esports has never won a head-to-head set, so definitely a tough one there to pick. You and I both going with the Bad Bunnies. We'll see if Koji and Manu end up being correct with, of course, picking Chivas Esports. Everyone picking Tribe, everyone picking Liquid. I feel like those are very, very clear just because Tribe does seem to be a very dominant force. Cream is playing very well. They're 2-2, but it is Tribe, and Tribe has honestly been unstoppable other than SK. And then you talk about Team Liquid. This feels like a moment that Team Liquid thrives in the sense that they're always good when they have to be. But honestly, with what we've seen so far this season, they might just not have it here in the fall of 2020.
Look, this is reminiscent of their spring 2019 season where they started off absolutely horrible, bounced back to win the league, to win the West that time around. I'm picking Team Liquid today because this is a must-win. I can't bet on Team Liquid having a completely out-of-playoff season, and it feels like if they lose today, that might be what happens considering the rest of their schedule. So I'm picking Liquid because I think they have to win today.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll be the last match. First up, Bad Buddies of Misfits going up against Chivas Esports. Who gets their first W?
Misfits and Chivas both battling potentially to get out of the bottom of the table. Chivas Esports in their second match of the weekend.
Just all bad here for Samuel. 3 weeks of match play. Must win today.
Lo hizo, se barrió a todo el equipo entre Misfits y las Chivas. Por fin uno de ellos va a poder levantar esa banderita de la victoria.
Misfits contra Chivas, jogo que eu não imagino o que vai acontecer. Bom, se eu for bater aí nome por nome, com certeza Misfits levaria vantagem. Para finalizar o jogo, o tronco passa e é GG, negão! Eu acho que a Misfits vai levar esse jogo. Acho que o Chivas não tá bem não. Teve até alguns fôlegos no último final de semana, mas ainda acho que o Chivas é o time mais abaixo nessa edição da CRL. A Space Station ganha! O Acrep levanta desesperado. Decão, ele precisava...
It's been a tough road for both these squads so far, but someone will erase that big nasty 0 in the win column today. But the bad news on that same vein, Andrew, is that someone will keep that big nasty 0 and fall way behind in our standings.
So trying to get out of the bagel center here is Air Surfer, Bob the Rock, Schwarzen, and Wings all coming out for Misfits. 0-4, not one 2v2 set to their name this season. Can they pick it up today? Most likely going to be Air Surfer and Wings, but we'll have to see if they change it up again and go with their rookies. And of course, on the other side of it, also putting up the goose egg, we got Chivas Esports.
Chivas Esports, we saw them yesterday, and really it's been a two-man show. Diego B and Pompeo have been very, very good. Kevin and Adrian, one of those two needs to step up today if there's going to be any shot of Chivas Esports salvaging this season.
Yeah, it's just been really, really difficult. You know, you got 4 people on this squad that are all professional CR players. They're all talented guys, but the fact that they haven't been able to pick up one head-to-head set. They've gone to the 1v1 set 3 times, and obviously King of the Hill every single match. So very, very rough spot for them. Air Surfer and Wings, Diego B and Pompeo across the board here. Tornado will be banned and not seen in this 2v2 set.
Let's go ahead, jump into the action. Game number 1 of the opening stanza. Diego B and Pompeo top of your screen. Air Surfer and Wings at the bottom. And Andrew, I gotta say that you can tell the troubles for Misfits overall because they had to move these two guys into 2v2. That was 1,000,000% not the plan on this season.
Yeah, it really ends up handicapping or hamstringing these guys moving into the next 2 sets. You've got your 2 best head-to-head players without a doubt in Air Surfer and Wings. Yes, Bob the Rock and Schwarzen have done things in the offseason and in amateur play, but you're just not quite there yet when you talk about being a CR pro.
Well, you're also not just moving 2 top tier head-to-head players. into 2v2, moving two players who aren't super high level at 2v2 into 2v2. Both guys with sub 50% win rates. So, you know, Air Surfer and Wings are very talented. Bob and Schwarzen are both very, very good. Something just hasn't come together. And Andrew, there's a pretty consistent thread throughout this season. Rookies struggling mightily.
And it's so fascinating that they're struggling as much as they are. That log was definitely not necessary with the Baby Dragon there, but Air Surfer and Wings going to be okay. What is it about the rookies struggling so much? Because we've always had rookies coming into the league. It just seems this year they have been completely outclassed by their seniors.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, look, a lot of the rookies who came into the past were already sort of A or S tier rookies on their own, right? I mean, you talk about a rookie coming in, but you're talking about a guy like Igor coming in, a guy like Lapacati coming in, guys who are, you know, you talk about all-time great ladder players, talking about a lot of those guys fall into that category, and that hasn't been exactly the same. You've had really, really, really high-level semi-pros coming in, but not the same thing as bringing in someone like the two guys I just mentioned.
And honestly, that work that these guys have put in on ladder, I think in the rookie class you're talking about prior, you know, the Rubens, the Lapos, the Igors, those guys, the Pompeos even, is that ladder battle really, really helps you build that mental strength for when you are struggling and staying untilted and bouncing back after heartbreaking losses. So let's see if either of these squads can bounce back today. I mean, one of them has to.
Giant Skeleton Lumberjack balloon to the right-hand side. Miner goes right to the Archer. And take a look at that. The balloon sneaking by that Goblin Cage. This might be, no, Snowball does stop the connection. So far, it is Misfits with the damage lead, 1876 on the left-hand side, with 20 seconds left in regulation.
Yeah, really, really nice Giant Skeleton cleanup there to kind of balance out the elixir deficit that Diego B and Pompeo were sitting in. So back to even, and like you said, Misfits up just a bit in damage.
Giant Skeleton Loon to the left-hand side now. Chivas Esports switching lanes back and forth. And this balloon might get a drop here. Snowball does get in just in time. So far, Wings and Air Surfer certainly on the same page on the defensive side of the board.
Yeah, it did feel like that Snowball came a second late, though, because either they didn't need it, because I think the balloon was going to go down, or they should have used it earlier so that death damage didn't get to tower. Just a really, really small thing to point out, but as you said, Air Surfer and Wings doing a very, very good job defending. It's just these balloon pushes are starting to come very, very hot and heavy and hard to deal with.
Fireball in, clears out the Skeleton Dragon's cage to pull the balloon. Miner, though, it's a good spot on that Miner. It's going to distract a lot of that, and this balloon raged up. Should get a drop.
Man.
Just barely stopped. Great Goblin Cage from Misfits.
Yeah, a little bit too comfortable there from Air Surfer and Wings. That Miner going in was just brilliant, as you called it out. Right to the perfect spot, taking just long enough. Balloon connects.
Final minute, triple elixir on, and so far, at this moment, it feels like the momentum swinging towards Chivas with the damage lead at the moment. Air Surfer and Wings, though, are playing Graveyard, can turn up the heat in a flash. We'll see if they can do it.
Oh, man, this balloon's still cruising on through. Giant Skeleton up front. That Giant Skeleton's going to be a problem because it's still tanking for that balloon. That is going to do it because even though this tower stays up, there's no way Air Surfer and Wings can recover from what just happened.
Final 30 seconds, Miner goes into the back, and that's a good pickup there with the Heal Spirit Snowball combination. Freeze comes in, that's going to be it. Diego B and Pompeo continue to be strong in 2v2.
And you see that Goblin Cage come in late with the Snowball on the very last defense. The Snowball also a little bit late. Balloon doesn't get pushed back far enough. And here we go, just kind of second verse, same as the first. Chivas doing it in 2v2, Misfits struggling in the same set.
You know, I'm looking at these cameras right now, Andrew, and you and I both picked Misfits today. I think we picked them for the same reason, believing that Misfits can carry the King of the Hill and 1v1 and be one of the rare teams that we look at as a reverse sweep team. But you see the body language. If they don't fix that mentality, that's going to be a short day for Misfits.
Yeah, you know, because what we're seeing in the body language from them is that it's almost become expected to be upset after your 2v2 game and then 2v2 set. So you see Wings and Air Surfer, and their general body language is just frustration. It's a little bit despondent, as opposed to someone looking to bounce back in game number 2, which is something they can definitely do. But the biggest thing is here is you look at all these defenses and they're pouring so much elixir in, but it's not focused on the correct things. You see right there, that's exactly what I'm talking about. High Goblin Cage, late Snowball, Balloon doesn't reset. Yes, at that point it's already said and done, but still small things like that need to be in check if you want to move into your next game successfully.
So game number 1 goes to Diego B and Pompeo. We're talking about mentality. It seems like these two have been in really good spirits the entire way through, even with the challenges that Chivas Esports has been facing. So, look, you know, Chivas is in a tough spot right now, and they need to get this win today if they want to stay relevant in the playoff picture. But they haven't lost mentally yet. Right. And that's the big question I think that Misfits has to solve. And at the moment, Chivas is winning that fight.
Yeah, I mean, well, because here's what we need to keep in mind. Both of these squads still haven't won, right? Diego B, Pompeo, more experience, and they get to start off great every match. They get to start off winning their set, they get to do a good job, and usually one of them will pick up a game in King of the Hill. So that's why you'll see their expressions being so positive, but still the wheels fall off for Chivas as you get halfway through the King of the Hill and get to the 1v1. So that's why the mentality of Air Surfer and Wings is so important, because they've got nothing but better things to look forward to if you look at the track record of their opponents.
Well, you know, you talk about the loss of Razor to Team Liquid, partially on the 2v2 side and how valuable he is, how valuable he might have been paired with Bob the Rock in 2v2, adding more experience and firepower to the King of the Hill. But you also have to factor in the value of his attitude into a team where you have guys like, look, let's be very clear about historically with Wings and Air Surfer, both of them have been kind of quieter, sometimes guys who get frustrated easily. Mm-hmm. And having a guy like Razor in there who's just a ball of positivity, there's a lot of balance there that happens. I think that was a big part of the success for Misfits last season.
So here we go. Game number 2 here in this opening set. Wings and Air Surfer, bottom of your screen, Diego B. Pompeo at the top with a game in hand. And, you know, that's another thing about Wings, that putting him in this 2v2 set really maybe doesn't complement his playstyle, because, you know, we would see Wings get very frustrated in certain King of the Hill matchups where if he would make a small mistake or if he just had a really, really bad matchup. But then he gets to sit down. He gets to sit down for a whole nother match day or the rest of the week. Whereas now he's going into his favorite set, the set that he dominates, usually always, I mean, this season 100% of the time, coming off of 2 losses. So, interesting thing there.
Frustration. You're absolutely right. We'll also talk about the non-vocal. You know, some players play very vocally, some don't. And, you know, if you're very experienced together, like, for example, Sam and Morton, you don't need as many words. But how many 2v2 matchups do Air Surfer and Wings have? I guess maybe as the 2v2 practice partners for Razor and Dip last season. But as you can see, I don't even know if they're on comms right now. Not a single word going between the two.
Yeah, really interesting there. So, gonna set up with another Lava Hound push. Wings and Air Surfer going double Lava Loon.
And Rage out of Chivas. Much more seen in the East, a little bit here in the West, and in this case does not work out on the defensive side of the board.
Oh, really, really nice first push here for Wings and Air Surfer, breathing a little bit of positivity back in them. You see both of them readjusting. It's almost as if they're not used to their team taking a tower here in 2v2, but that is a lot of sizzle on that King.
Yeah, I don't know what they had. It might have just been a thing of having nothing in cycle that made sense to defend against that. You know, you can see the heal spirit might have been enough to stop that from getting into the 3rd degree, but that's nearly half the King Tower down in a situation where this might go to 3.
Yeah, and you know, and Lava Hound is one of those decks where you can take the 3 a little bit easier than other win conditions. So we'll see how Air Surfer and Wings want to deal with this massive push coming across the river, and then how they want to respond.
Well, here we go. The Rage on the offensive side of the board. A little bit of a stun there from the Zap. Good damage, but I don't know if that's enough, Andrew. There's going to be a big counter push.
Yeah, a lot spent there. Only 2 elixir left in hand after that cannon cart comes down. Cannon cart obviously on the ground as opposed to all this stuff in the sky, but those skeleton dragons, even with their nerfs, still doing a very, very good job playing cleanup.
Final 20 seconds, and you can see maybe Diego and Pompeo try to sell out here at the bridge and go all in on the right-hand or left-hand side, but looks like it's going to be too little too late. Ram Rider in, cannon cart behind. Rage up, trying to get a connection on here, but look at how quickly that Ram Rider's health goes down. GG, well played. Misfits evens things up in 2.
So here you go, and you even see the wow coming out from Diego. I'm wondering if that's because he's thinking exactly what we were, which is that Ram Rider just immediately evaporated. So much DPS coming down for Air Surfer and Wings. There you go, look at that! Smiles from our boys on the left-hand side, which is exactly what you want to see. Once again, 9 matches this season. Nothing is secured yet. Maybe, just maybe, one of these squads can squeeze into that 6th place spot.
This gets really interesting, Andrew, with all tied up 1-1. You know, you think that if Chivas wins this, they win it by taking the 2v2 and then probably cleaning it up in King of the Hill. Of course, they are going to be up against one of the less experienced players if they do go to 1v1. If Misfits wins this 2v2, you almost want to say that's GG well played in this one.
Yeah, I agree, because like we've said, Chivas just can't seem to take home a 1v1 set. If Misfits wins the 2v2, that means at best Chivas goes to that set, and then it becomes all about Adrian or Kevin facing off against, most likely, I think it'll be Schwarzen. But there's just something about Adrian and Kevin that seem a little off. Get them in that King of the Hill. Hopefully, if they are fortunate in this 2v2, Chivas can win this in 2 sets. They really do not want to go to the 3rd with what's happening head-to-head.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. This is a big 3rd set. Pompeo and Diego B. I mean, I generally give them the advantage overall in 2v2, but they kind of got caught out in this situation. And that defensive rage, you know what they were going for there, but it seems like that was 2 Elixir that didn't do anything on defense, did not slow down the push, did not stop the tower from falling, and led to putting them in a really, really rough position. So, I don't know. I like the idea of rage in 2v2. You and I have talked about it a lot, but I'd be surprised to see them run it again here in game number 3.
Yeah, it was. You feel like there had to have just been a better response to help with that Lava Hound and the Musketeer on the ground, because basically, like you said, they dropped the Rage on the Muskie and the Princess Tower, and the DPS is still too low. There's not enough damage per second coming out to clean up all those pups. So like you said, wasted Elixir. Maybe they should have dropped a different unit or just sacked the tower and went back on offense. But the thing with their offense is they just were not able to break through. So I think they switch up their win condition, honestly. I don't know why Ram Rider just didn't seem to fare well against their opponents, but maybe Misfits, Air Surfer, and Wings are just maybe too familiar with controlling that win condition.
Yeah, that was an interesting situation. You saw at one point the double recruits. That's a lot of Elixir spent on... the thing about playing recruits twice at the same time in 2v2 is you spend a lot of Elixir and you feel like, look, I've clogged up so much. I've created so many things on the board. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 3. But you've also put a lot of things on the board that can all be dealt with in the exact same way. So you can spend a lot less Elixir than the 14 that was just spent on those 2 recruits.
And
those 12 recruits.
Wow, here we go. Double bait from both sides. But yeah, exactly with the recruits too. And a lot of times Diego and Pompeo would drop their skeleton dragons or something else on top of it that are fireballable. And then at that point, it becomes okay to just take off the shields of 6 recruits and take 2 units off the board.
You've said it before, Andrew. Fireballable is the greatest non-word in all of Clash Royale.
I know. Fireballable, Dexmanship. There's a few of them that you and I have come up with over the years. But I gotta say, my favorite this year was pour some syrup. Was that what it was?
Oh, pour some syrup on it.
Pour some syrup on it, yeah.
That was Mini Pekka going coast to coast. Free pancakes. We'll see if that happens again today. So far, though, it's been a whole different story. Double bait both directions, and I am interested to see Wings and Air Surfer running a deck that requires so much teamwork, so much synergy.
Yeah.
Where we saw so much success with a slower deck like Lava Hound in the last game.
Yeah, you know, and like, it's not just a thing that, like, if you've played together, you have perfect synergy. I mean, some games it'll work out and some it won't. We saw, you know, Odd Crap and the God RF, one of the best 2v2 duos out there, just not be able to get this deck quite where they wanted it. And that is a bad Dark Goblin.
Yeah, this whole sequence was rough, and it started with the Fisherman pulling the giant skeleton back across the bridge and kind of just giving that Inferno Tower a lot of room to work. And you saw so many pieces of that. You saw what it felt like was with Wings and Air Surfer were going for stuff, but going for moves, going for big ideas, but going for them at the wrong time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the biggest thing that you have to pay attention to with this double bait deck is, yeah, there's a lot of cool things you can do, but actually making them work in sequence is really difficult.
Good fireball value there for Air Surfer, taking care of that entire push right at the bridge. At the moment, it is Misfits in the lead, 14-23 to 16-37, and they're the ones putting the pressure on the left-hand side.
Yeah, Bomb Tower been a nice equalizer here, helping out with usually cleaning up a positive or +1 elixir trade.
Look at this elixir difference, though, Andrew, and on top of that, take a look at the way that Misfits put together that double bait push. They put it together in a way that allowed that Valkyrie to get a ton of value to walk back towards the Goblins and help out with the Skeleton Barrel. So, again, even though they have the lead, it does feel like the door is open for Pompeo and Diego.
Yeah, and this deck can really just turn on a dime. One Goblin Barrel coming in when you don't have the correct spell response like that, and all of a sudden you're overspending, you can get punished very, very quickly. So Diego B, Diego B and Pompeo need to not take their foot off the gas if they want to win this game.
Look at that double drop, easy log value, 2 for 6 there, and the pressure is coming in from Diego and Pompeo. Mega Knight comes down for the Skeleton Barrel, and they're going to do their best to trap all of this in this spot here and make sure that Mega Knight gets hit by that giant Skeleton Death Bomb.
Second barrel in, there's the log for it. Right now, Air Surfer and Wings doing a great job of being in the cycle. Now Fireball? No Fireball. They're going for something a little bit cheaper.
This is a little bit of good pressure here coming in from Air Surfer and Wings. Snowball to clean things up, 556 to 751.
Yeah, and you can't really spell out comfortably. Look at that, another double drop, but they missed the second Dark Goblin.
Bomb Tower has to come down on defense. That's going to be it, Andrew. They're going to get a spell in here. Poison does it. Mega Knight tries to lead. Can it beat it? 4 HP. Wow, that was so close.
Oh my goodness. Diego B and Pompeo do exactly what they need to accomplish in order to keep their team in the running here. Air Surfer and Wings, you can see how upset they are, but honestly, for how close that 2v2 set was, they need to reset and come back for the King of the Hill, knowing that now these following 2 sets favor Misfits.
Yeah, that was very, very close, and the not controlling the Mega Knight there at the end. Ooh, boy, that could have been a totally different story, and if Misfits took the win there, like I said, that would have felt like a GG well played for the entire match. Diego B and Pompeo now 4-1 in 2v2 sets. Misfits has yet to pick up a set in the opening stanza.
I mean, in their last 4 matches, they have gone 8-3 in this opening set. So when you talk about 2v2 duos, it doesn't get too much better than that. There's only like 2 squads that have a better record than all of CRL right now in the West. But again, head-to-head play has just been their kryptonite. So, you know, we open up this replay with the first double drop, giving great log value. And then right here, I believe you and I were talking about on broadcast, actually it was maybe 30 seconds before this, where Misfits had all of a sudden been caught out of cycle, caught low in elixir, and Pompeo and Diego were relentless.
And this is what I was talking about beforehand, Andrew, was, you know, you're going for a deck that requires a ton of teammate synergy, perfect teamwork to play a deck like this in 2v2. And, you know, they did a good job in game number 2 with the deck choice that they made and going something more simple to operate. The number of mistakes you saw, and it's not because Air Surfer and Wings aren't good players, they are phenomenal players, but this is an issue of not being on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of this deck that they're playing against and playing with, is that since it is so high interaction, since there are so many actions per minute going on the screen, that's why only the best 2v2 duos comfortably run that and dominate with it every time. Again, I don't like to use AC and RF as an example for something that didn't work because they're so good in 2v2, but the match of them and SK playing against each other, showing one team using it and then the other team using it, and how drastically and radically different it was, even though we're talking about 4 of the best 2v2 duos and players out there, it still was night and day. And it could just be a difference of one game and cycle and synergy, but it's very difficult.
So now we move into King of the Hill, Andrew, and this is where you can say the proof is in the pudding. Can Chivas Esports win a King of the Hill set? If they can win this, it's all over. But they have 2 chances, and look, I'll say this. I think that the King of the Hill does favor Misfits significantly. 1v1, who knows right now what's going on? You feel like Schwarzen is the guy they would send out if Misfits gets there, but who knows with the way things have been going for this squad so far this season.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, about Misfits in their King of the Hill lineup is I really, truly believe you move Air Surfer into the last spot as he is a little bit more tiltable, and you put Wings in the second because he's your King of the Hill guy, but he's technically not your 1v1 specialist. Let him take a little break and let your rookie or one of your rookies come out in this first spot. Pretty sure Air Surfer or Wings is going to come out first again, and I just don't think it's been enough downtime for them. I don't know, man. I can't quite figure out what it is about Misfits, and I guess it is the 2v2, right? Because if the 2v2 is locked down by the rookies, then it frees up Wings and Air Surfer to play the things that they're more comfortable in.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it frees them up, it gives them confidence, and it makes you have to beat Wings and Air Surfer twice in King of the Hill and 1v1. You can beat that. You can beat those two guys in King of the Hill. That's very doable. Beating them in King of the Hill and then again in 1v1, exceptionally hard to do. But 0-5 so far in the opening set, really, really hamstringing Misfits.
So Air Surfer will be facing off against Kevin R.A. first game up here in King of the Hill. And this is more so what I'm talking about if you look at Chivas' side of the board. Let the rookie come out first, and then obviously since they won that set, it doesn't really apply, but, you know, having Air Surfer and Wings come out as the 1-2 punch really makes me feel like it should be Schwarzen in that first spot instead.
So Air Surfer looking like it's going to be Hog triple spell. Kevin R.A. looking like Balloon potentially. Kevin still looking for his first win in CRL so far on the season, 0-4 in games.
And Kevin selling out here. You see him layering this push, going all in, and Air Surfer going to go right on offense because I'm pretty sure he feels like he can lock this thing down. But a lot of damage coming in, and that Balloon is basically untouched.
Yeah, he overspent there a little bit, and there's the snowball finally. He probably thought he had it locked down because the snowball bomb tower combination really shuts down Balloon, but was just stretched a little bit too thin, and you saw he didn't have the elixir for it on time.
Yeah, so he goes Hog Rider in the left-hand lane. He does have about a 500 damage deficit in comparison here to Kevin, but the thing is this deck that Kevin's running also cycles really quickly, and Hog Triple Spell really excels in single elixir, but when you're going up against like this, that a deck like this that has a building and can cycle as quickly as yours, it becomes a little bit more difficult.
And not going to be able to cycle back around to Snowball to prevent that death damage this time, so Kevin getting the advantage early in this one, 20 seconds left in regulation time, and it is the Chivas Esports rookie with the lead, 9-04 to 18-28.
Yeah, Air Surfer going back on offense there, getting very little out of it. Up by about a half of elixir, but down by a great amount of damage.
Kevin's personal best, 75-28 on ladder, and again, we're talking about a lot of these rookies have done very, very well in the absence of the CRL pros. Red Bull MEO 2 for Mexico, Kevin took first place, made the top 16 in the Red Bull MEO overall for World. But again, that's a Red Bull MEO that didn't have all the big stars participating that you're used to seeing because they're in CRL.
Nice pickup there of the miner on the Archer. Actually ends up being the reason why I believe this Balloon does get a connection. But on the other side of it, Air Surfer's Earthquake plus Archers and Hog getting a great damaged hit as well.
1399 on the right-hand side. Air Surfer starting to battle his way back in. This time sets up with the bomb tower. And you see the cycle of the skeletons in the back early looking for that miner, but providing some help up high. Not going to use Snowball here, so again, death damage will come in, maybe trying to save some elixir for the offensive side.
And I like that bar barrel. Kevin knew exactly what Air Surfer wanted to do. He wanted to, you know, support that Hog Rider with the Archers behind, help take down the bomb tower and whatever support was going to come in, so he bar barrels early and stops all that. Very, very nice play.
Good snowball in from Kevin, and he's looking very close to getting that first win. A snowball to reset the miner here, 322 on the right-hand side. Keep in mind, though, that Kevin does not have a direct damage big spell, so it's going to have to be connections of the miner, snowball, and balloon to get this thing done.
Yeah, and here's the thing, is if Air Surfer has a really, really nice catch here, he could still be in it, so that's why instead Kevin's going with a full offensive push again, as opposed to just trying to cycle out with his miner. So now Air Surfer has to stop this death damage.
And I don't know if he's going to, just barely puts it, I think, nope, not outside of range, half tile inside, and Kevin gets the win over Air Surfer to kick off this King of the Hill and finally puts one in the dub column.
I mean, and this is why I have a problem with this, is look at Air Surfer. You've got a guy that's coming off of 3 game losses basically in a row now, and you're sending him into your first spot in King of the Hill off of 2. Give the guy a minute to reset. Let him think for a second about what he wants to do and maybe what happened in the 2v2, and let him put it behind him, as opposed to just going, all right, I lost there, let me come out in King of the Hill. All right, I lost here, I'm done for the day. It's just incredibly brutal to deal with.
I'm very curious about this particular deck choice from Air Surfer, Andrew, because, you know, you understand that people are switching a little bit to archers instead of the musketeer, maybe partially because of that first shot differential, but they also typically have put the Inferno Tower in instead of the Bomb Tower, maintaining the same cycle and giving themselves a little bit more DPS that you lose by not having that musketeer in. And in this case, you feel like that would have been a great call.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the Musketeer is so powerful still. It's not like she was just nerfed into oblivion. And honestly, the biggest struggle Air Surfer had was with those archers. It was just too easy to get on top of them, or too easy to control them, too easy to slow their DPS down. I mean, that one miner that went to the back from Kevin to catch the one archer just made another balloon hit happen on the left-hand side. I think, and that specific play, Air Surfer protected his archer. He protected it with skeletons. So if that's a musketeer instead, that balloon doesn't get a hit because the skeletons protect the musketeer. Musketeer kills the miner, then refocuses on the balloon. So yeah, maybe a very small adjustment there that just didn't work out based on what he was facing up against.
So a big first King of the Hill win for Kevin. Congratulations to the young man. And that's hopefully for him the first of many. Air Surfer now moves to 4-4 on the season. Andrew, it feels like about 1,000 years ago when he put his King of the Hill sweep in on this season, but it was just a few weeks.
Yeah, and again, man, I think it's because of how much his team is putting him in a position to lose in the 2v2 and then come out and kind of get caught looking in the King of the Hill. Change up that lineup.
Let's jump into game number 2. Wings coming out with a 30-18 career record overall. 4 sweeps in King of the Hill, has been one of the best, but as you mentioned before, Andrew, has not been put in a place to succeed, and also we have not seen him very much in King of the Hill this season. This is only his 2nd appearance.
Yeah, it's very odd to see him benched in King of the Hill, and you know, I could be projecting here, but I do feel like Wings feels a little bit more settled than Air Surfer did coming into that last game.
It's a possibility, and maybe talk about that a little bit of a break and how the value could be there. We'll see if that pays off. Looking like Kevin going with Graveyard, and yep, he pulls the Graveyard just as I say it. Poison in response from Wings. So it should be GY in both directions.
Yeah, and you know, Wings right now, we've seen this kind of matchup before, or very similar matchup in the past. Wings does have the advantage on paper just because he has so much higher single target DPS to help him win those bridge battles. The Mega Minion plus the archers, even the skeletons, all those units are going to do a lot more DPS than what Kevin can produce. That being said, Kevin's side of the map, much tankier.
We'll see how well Wings uses those archers also if he wants to try to pull the poison on offense when he goes for a Graveyard push at some point. He has some better options maybe for quickly taking care of those skeletons from the Graveyard. 90 seconds has passed, and so far not much significant damage on any of the 4 corners. 2,400 the only touch on the bottom right-hand side.
Yeah, it will be really interesting to see how Kevin ends up using his poisons as we move forward, just because the units that can be poisoned on Wing's side of the map, you get such great value from every single unit that we see, other than really the Knight.
Graveyard into the left-hand side, Mega Minion tanking, and the poison comes in. Mega Minion is doing some tankage though, so this might be enough for Wings to at least get close here, 2,400, so does not take back the lead. Does have the elixir advantage though.
And setting up for a bridge battle here on the right side of the map. That Bar Barrel coming in early is going to be easy money for that Mega Minion to clean up, but now you see the Baby Dragon doing a lot of work.
Yeah, we'll see how Wings contends with the Baby Dragon on the back end here. Picks it up with a Knight, so keeps the splash damage off the tower, and we are separated by just 1 HP at this stage in the game.
Yeah, I'm almost a little surprised we didn't see Kevin going with a Graveyard right there, just because he had an elixir advantage, he had a tank on the board, and it was going into double. But you know what? He's able to defend adequately, so I'll just let him get away with that one.
And consistent, inexpensive graveyard pushes coming in from Wings on the left-hand side. That's, I think, the third time we've seen him do that 7 elixir graveyard bar barrel push, and now switching lanes is the Misfits play.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the other thing, right? We're talking about winning bridge battles, and it's going to be harder for Kevin to do that. And since his units are tankier, it's going to be a little bit harder for him to get as much staying on the board to come across the river and help tank for these skeletons. Plus, that archer's coming down means that he wants to free up his poison.
Dual lane pressure so far from Wings and has a bit of an advantage. Quite a bit of elixir leakage there from Kevin, cycling the Ice Wiz to the right. Look at the difference, almost 4 elixir difference in the leakage at this stage.
Yeah, a lot of elixir coming out there for Kevin. I mean, that's an entire graveyard wasted.
And now it's the Chivas player's turn to switch lanes. Now goes with the full graveyard poison push. Archers are defending pretty well, and the Ice Wiz does get things almost even on that right-hand side. Double baby dragons. How will Wings contend with this?
Yeah, this is where things start to become trouble for Wings, because Kevin's starting to build that elixir advantage by putting stuff on the board. But again, because these units are so cheap with high DPS, Wings is able to keep things at bay at the river.
This time defending with just skeletons and poison is the American on the bottom left-hand side. Does have the lead still in triple elixir, 40 seconds left. A huge push coming in for Kevin.
Yeah. High bomb tower there, really nicely played. Archer's going to be down low, maybe a high mega minion as well. Nope, goes barb barrel to keep everything right in that bomb range.
Yeah, good job turning things around, but Kevin does take the lead now. This left-hand tower going to be just around 1,800 HP.
Wings getting a lot in here. This is a really, really nice graveyard push coming in.
It might come down to who gets the last shot in. The NATO by Kevin is trying to put as much damage on the left-hand side as possible. Poison comes in for Wings. 1543 ticking down on the left-hand side. And that's going to be win number 2 for Kevin. Misfits back against the wall. We might have an opening rookie sweep here for Kevin on the board.
And that would be so huge for Chivas to come out and 4-0 when you're talking, or excuse me, 2-0 sets. Kevin RA getting a sweep would be massive. And you finally see the confidence and happiness of this young man coming out after a really, really rough start.
Yeah, it's been a tough road for him so far. This is exactly what he needs, exactly what Chivas needs. And Wings and Air Surfer both just have to be beside themselves at this point. It really felt like Wings was going to take control of that one, but once we got the triple elixir, the ability for Kevin to stack troops made it so difficult for the American.
Yeah, the beefiness there made it really hard to win those bridge battles. And you see, the high bomb tower here is a unit to clean everything up. The bar barrel comes in to keep everything in the blast range. But the problem is just the beefiness of the units of Kevin. So he gets here, you see the baby dragon on that back left seat being dropped, or the top left for defense, and then this thing becomes a really, really nice counter push again coming across the river. This was just a straight up graveyard poison base race.
And just trying to get everything off as quickly as possible. You see, the NATO wasn't just for damage there, Andrew. It was also to help get the archers out of the way more quickly, get all of those defending troops down faster, get a couple extra shots in, and with that 1-2 punch combination, Kevin takes out the 2 most dangerous tools from Misfits and now forces one of their rookies to reverse sweep King of the Hill to set up a 1v1. Feeling dire right now for Misfits.
Yeah, I mean, this is why, we talk so much about setting people up for success. You've now got your rookie in a very clutch, clinch, high-pressure spot. Who knows if he even wants to be there? Instead, if it could be Air Surfer after sitting back for 2 games, that's a guy that can do it. So I know I sound like a broken record, but it just seems like the lineup in King of the Hill for Misfits is not where they need it to be.
Well, the one thing we've talked about, Andrew, before a few times now about Misfits is lack of an identity. And we saw that when they pulled the trigger on having Bob and Schwarzen as their 2v2 duo, putting in an Air Surfer and Wings for that set. It seems that this team doesn't know what they want to do. They don't have an actual game plan coming in week by week. And that this is if there's any team, look, you look at other teams that don't have wins yet. Chivas, you know what Chivas is about, that just haven't made it work yet.
Yeah.
Pain Gaming, you know what they're trying to do. They've just had a lot of up and downs. But Misfits just seems like they're out there with a blindfold on.
Yeah, they're just completely out of sorts. Like they have no identity. The players don't know where it feels like they're going to be on any given day, other than just showing up in 2v2 2v2 and then somewhere in King of the Hill. There's just a lot that need to be sorted out, and that's why you see the record at where it is now, is a team with no identity, players that can't build confidence moving into their set. It's a problem.
So now you have Schwarzen has to come out, get 1, 2, 3, and then do you bring him back out again for 1v1? If he can do it, do they switch to Bob the Rock? Schwarzen's a talented player, 8.2K personal best, so he's a above 8,000 player in terms of his ladder play, top 25 finish. The guy can play. We saw what he did in the No Tilt World Championship, but we also saw his same gameplay diminish in the highest pressure situations of that tournament. So the question is, can he handle the pressure in this moment as well?
So here we go. Schwarzen, everything on the line, has to go 1, 2, 3 against Chivas. Can he do it? This is a big moment for him to make an even bigger name for this rookie who is still finding his footing here in 2020.
Let's jump into it. One of these two will have a big game. Kevin with a chance to go from not having won a single game in CRL to a King of the Hill sweep would be a big turnaround and a big momentum shift potentially for Chivas overall.
Yeah, I mean, that is exactly what they need. And then also that means moving forward, he's going to feel a lot more confident about where he's at. So maybe Kevin running it back again, we'll see. And that tornado can maybe help with that Miter King Tower activation if Schwarzen starts it very up where he'd like to place it.
So feeling like it's going to be lava out of Schwarzen with the Night Witch back there?
Yeah, a season ago we would have said, you know, maybe Giant Mire is something that was a little bit more popular, but obviously now when you see those cards, it has to go to the skies.
Well, Zap is just so rarely paired not with Lava Hound these days, and P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam is not super popular, so you see Zap, you see Miner. Yeah, the Giant Night Witch was one of those, and where did that deck go, by the way? What happened to that Giant Night Witch deck?
Yeah, I don't miss it. I don't miss it that much. The Flying Machine behind, putting in some good work on this Baby Dragon, going to stay alive. Miner going to go right to that Ice Wiz. Great catch there with the Knight, but still going to be a lot to deal with here for Kevin.
Good catch, and that Fireball may be a bit unlucky there for Schwarzen. Wanted the tower damage, but instead of it pushed the Ice Wiz away, which made that entire push die, still got a huge damage advantage, 1344, plus a slight Elixir lead as we approach double.
So Kevin just trying to maybe bait something out or just get a little bit of damage with that barb. Should get a couple swings in, but Schwarzen happy to ignore it and go back on offense. Something that you have to do a lot with Lava Hound is when to decide to attack or defend.
Bomb tower down for the Lava Hound. And nice Knight there to distract the Flying Machine and keep the Baby Dragon alive.
The Baby Dragon's still alive. Flying Machine going to be one of the most pesky things to deal with in this deck, and that bomb tower going to help clean everything up. But right now, Kevin needs to find a moment to get on offense, and that's a big overspend, or not overspend, but a lot spent here with that bomb tower. Great fireball.
Does have a healthy Baby Dragon on the board, and now going to maybe go for a graveyard push. There he goes, pulling the trigger on the right-hand side.
Yeah, Knight should do a good job with the bats there. Knight going to walk on to the tower, though.
That's a pretty big chunk coming in for the Chivas player, but the Miner going in the opposite direction, and the Ice Wiz going to go down here to the Baby Dragon.
Yeah, Baby Dragon doing a great job there, cleaning things up. 572 remaining. Right now, Kevin cannot seem to find an opening, and he is in a lot of trouble.
Going to go opposite lane here, and it feels like that's the right call. Going to really sell out, maybe try to win a race on the back end. NATO to pull the barbs away, and this graveyard getting tanked for.
Yeah, but that's just so much spent. He was kind of selling out there to take the win. Now I think this is going to be the moment we see Kevin sit down for the day, but great job done by that young man.
Yeah, you come out, you get two, that's what you need to do. Fireball will finish things off. Kevin got his 2 wins, got himself in the dub column, and that was really critical for Chivas Esports.
Yeah, that is massive, and also breathes a little bit of life back in them. Schwarzen keeping them up and going. Misfits still hanging on by a thread.
Schwarzen now has to go through the heart of the order, though. This will be the hard part. Can he beat both Pompeo and Diego B back-to-back? It's going to be critical. Misfits does not want to fall down to an 0-5 start on the season. Would have to win out to have any hope of sneaking into that number 6 spot. And this was that big push from Kevin. It looked pretty good. It had legs, but not able to do enough. And the zap, Schwarzen really stayed nice in the pocket there with the barbs, and then the ability to just recognize all I need is a zap to clean this up and it'll all be fine.
Yeah, I mean, what was so great about that too is that Schwarzen held those barbs for the entire game, knowing his opponent was going to play Graveyard eventually, and that was the ace up his sleeve. Knowing he was going up against Poison, there was no way Kevin was going to take those barbs off and get the Poison in and be able to defend.
So going to our game number 4 here in just a moment. Kevin gets 2 outs, 2 big outs, the 2 hardest outs.
Yeah.
But now it goes the opposite direction, where the rookie Schwarzen has to go against Pompeo and Diego B. And this is the big question: can Chivas win it in the head-to-head sets?
I mean, this is the place to do it. This is where it gets harder. This is why I was talking so much about letting your 2v2 duo sit down. Even though Diego and Pompeo won, they're ready to go. They've seen what their opponent needs to do, what they have to do, and now the pressure's on them. And Diego B and Pompeo, they're ready to go. They've been in the spot many times before, and honestly, Diego excels in high-pressure situations.
And this is a good spot for Schwarzen. Look, if he loses here, no one looks at Schwarzen and goes, oh no, he lost this one. But if he can win these 2 games, no matter what happens in that third and final set, this could be a bit of a coming out party for Schwarzen here at CRL, who was one of the most sought after rookies in the offseason. Can the promise get a payoff here today?
Yeah, I mean, what he did in no tilt and what he did in competitive play in the offseason was incredibly impressive. The names that he took down on his way to the top, it showed everyone that Schwarzen was here to stay. And this now at CRL, taking down these 3 guys in a row would be a massive, massive moment for him.
So here we go, jumping into game number 4. Schwarzen, the German rookie, up against Pompeo. And we'll see if Chivas Esports can close things out here, or if we do go to a game number 5. Pompeo, overall in his King of the Hill career, and even 10-10, went 8-5 in his first 2019 fall season with Cream back before they were Royale Betis, with 1 sweep in that season so far. 2-3 on this one. And Schwarzen pulling out the Bandit to open things up. Pompeo cycles his E-Wiz to the right. Mega Knight in the back. Might be looking at Ram Rider for the German. A little pressure on the left-hand side. A little soft pressure from Pompeo over there. 3-time #1 finisher on ladder is Pompeo. And there goes the Ram Rider behind. And the Mega Knight will activate King Tower. But this Ram Rider, going to get pulled by the Fisherman as well. Perfectly built defense by Pompeo to hold on, and things looking a little rough for Schwarzen in the opening moments here. Schwarzen on his side of the game, 4-2 in King of the Hill on this season, but it hasn't turned into the major impact they had hoped. A lot of that being that the 1v1 set, when they've gotten there, has not bounced Misfits' way. But as Andrew was talking earlier about the 2020 that Schwarzen has had, top 16 in the AMG Cup, top 6 in the Bren Chong Cup Summer Edition, and of course that top 8 performance in the No Tilt World Championships. First 2 minutes of gameplay away, about to enter double elixir time, and so far it is Pompeo with the lead. Schwarzen having difficulty breaking through to the second level, and here goes the Royal Giant.
Yeah, Ram Rider going to come in and defend that. Great response here, and the Hunter going to get up in his face and take it off the board relatively quickly.
1809 on the right-hand side for Schwarzen to the 2190 of Pompeo. Final 30 seconds of regulation.
It's going to be hard for Schwarzen here to create enough pressure anywhere else and defend adequately, just because that Royal Giant should get a hit almost every time. He's going to have to overspend and then hope he can get a great counter push. You know, something like the E-Wiz, Ram Rider, and Hunter, with hopefully a Mega Knight already on the board.
An offensive poison here from Schwarzen, trying to take some of this out of contention. Ram Rider, this one should finally connect, and that's going to be a big lead for the Misfits play.
Yeah, really, really nice connection there, but now he doesn't have much to defend with. This is going to be a huge Royal Giant push, and the cage comes in late.
and the Heal Spirit sneaks through. The Mega Knight not quite taking the healer off the board, so a big lead change back the other direction, and now a big downhill push from Pompeo.
Yeah, Pompeo just going all in here. Both Ewas is still on the board. This is a lot of trouble for Schwarzen.
And this Fisherman not going to do anything really to help against the Royal Giant, not pulling it to the opposite lane.
Ooh.
And that Lightning puts it at 115. Can Schwarzen get a good counter push here and steal the game right now? Pompeo,
I mean,
low on Elixir.
If you saw the look on Pompeo's face, he can't believe that he missed one of those units, dude. That is absolutely insane.
6 HP, Schwarzen steals it. Pompeo seemed like he had it all wrapped up. Schwarzen says, no, today's not your birthday, son. I'm taking the win.
Oh my goodness. If you saw the look on Pompeo's face when he dropped that Lightning down, first of all, you don't need to do it if you're trying to force it in, which is exactly what he did. He goes, look, I can get this Lightning in time, I can get Princess Tower damage, and I can take in some of these units off the board to stop that counter push, but he misses everything but the Princess Tower. 6 Elixir out the window, and Schwarzen knew exactly what to do in that moment.
Wow, absolute wow. So you start off with a big rookie performance from Kevin, 2 wins. Schwarzen takes 2 back, and now we're gonna go to a game 5 where it's the seasoned veteran Diego B. Let's take a look at these final moments, Andrew.
I mean, you look at this huge counter push coming in from Pompeo, and you think it might be all wrapped up. Schwarzen misses the Goblin Cage, you know, Royal Giant's living on the tower, and then even all of this, and look at, oh my goodness. So pour it on. Bar Barrel comes in, and then we get this late Lightning after all this is cleaned up, and then it goes all downhill from there. So here we go. Last Royal Giant push in. Fisherman there, not helping anything out. Hunter has to come in and defend, and then here we go.
Yeah, take a look at that. Yeah, just purely on tower. Unbelievable. Unbelievable mistake in that moment, and Pompeo maybe a little off kilter, and as you mentioned, I wish we could see his face in that replay. Ooh boy, that's a rough one when you feel like you have the match clinched. If this match ends up going to Misfits, that's the moment right there that all of Chivas will want back.
Oh, and it was literally, if he would have hit the Lightning, it goes Fisherman down, Hunter down, Princess Tower damage in, and then it's just a naked Ram Rider, which you can easily defend with that E-Wiz that he does have the Elixir for to drop. So we've all had it happen to us with Lightning. You think you can get it in time, but just not there. And honestly, Pompeo should have just stopped. Maybe even Lightning those 3 units crossing the river instead of forcing it on the Princess Tower, because he had the RG to come in. There's no way to stop it. Slow down, reset, win the game.
Yeah, Schwarzen benefiting from maybe a bit of a rookie mistake on the side of Pompeo. And you said it right before I could get to it, was just lightning the troops.
Yeah.
Go ahead and take those out. You're in control of the game. You have the ability to finish this. He can't stop the Royal Giant. GG, well played. Instead, now we go to a game 5, and Diego B, the pressure isn't completely on here. He does want to get the win. But if this goes to the 3rd set, this has been a big problem for Chivas.
Yeah, and and this is why Diego B being in this spot is a really good thing, because I feel like, again, as I said, he's good in these situations, but this is not the situation Chivas wanted to be in after such a great start.
So here we go. Game number 5, King of the Hill. One of the more experienced veterans of CRL, currently in his 5th season in game number 5 against the German rookie Schwarzen.
So Schwarzen dropping that Mega Minion we only see really with Graveyard these days.
And that Musketeer going to hang out right in the poison, looking like 6 Loon for Diego B, which we have not seen as much of in this midway point of the season.
Yeah, so we'll see how difficult it is for Schwarzen to get that damage on top of the balloons behind these pushes.
And Diego's doing the right thing, knowing he's up against Graveyard. The secret to this matchup for Diego is pressure early, so smart call here to try to put it on. He should be able to set up nicely for this next defense.
Yeah, and the amount of pressure that came in from Diego made it so that Schwarzen couldn't go Graveyard right there. Yes, it would have been really expensive, but Schwarzen would have gotten a lot of damage out of it and been fairly even in elixirs. So pressure, pressure, pressure is the name of the game, but you got to make sure you don't oversell.
Yeah, Diego just wants to make sure that he is significantly ahead by the time that, I mean, if he can keep it from getting the triple, excellent, but he wants to be significantly ahead when this hits triple elixir. If that's not the case, this advantage suddenly swings over to Schwarzen.
Yeah, especially with that poison, because those poisons being dropped on top of a 6-man plus a musketeer or plus a fisherman, whatever it may be, is going to be a really, really nice thing for Schwarzen to have when you talk about spell power.
A little min-max, and a wrinkle here, the Inferno Dragon in this deck. Not the typical choice, but Diego B making a slight adjustment here.
So high Goblin Cage here, going to pull that balloon aside. Mega Minion going to get some damage in, but maybe the Ewiz also comes down because of that Heal Spirit? No, sir. Ewiz is on the opposite
side. And a huge balloon connection on the right-hand side, Andrew. Graveyard in, nothing tanking for it at the moment. Schwarzen trying to put pressure in both lanes, and he might retake the lead here.
Yeah, that was actually a really, really nice brawler connection on the top right-hand side and follows it up with a great graveyard.
Plenty of elixir for Schwarzen to play defense here. Drops both the Mega Minion and the Ewiz. Balloon going to get death damage in, but no connection. 590 on the right-hand side to 748. Final 20 seconds of regulation, and man, Diego wants to finish this thing off before we hit triple.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly what I was just going to say. Diego knows that his window is closing and is closing rapidly, so he's going to set up here to defend against the graveyard. But what he's also doing is setting himself up to defend the balloon push coming in, and Schwarzen sees it coming from a mile away.
Heal Spear helps out with the graveyard on the back, 363 to 590. This is very, very tight here. Diego wants to get to that Ewiz, can't get to that Ewiz. Fisherman getting stunned up all the way.
Man.
It looks like Schwarzen might pull off this reverse sweep, Andrew.
Yeah, Diego needs to get on offense, but Schwarzen's doing such a good job of fighting these bridge battles. That is a naked, unsupported balloon with the Heal Spirit. Will it make it through with that Heal Spirit?
Oh, wow! My God, Schwarzen went naked graveyard trying to beat out the balloon. 5 elixir on the opposite side, and wow, we saw a rookie mistake give Schwarzen the game in number 4, and then Schwarzen, with maybe a bit of an overcommit there instead of playing defense, throws here in game 5.
The naked loon with the late Heal Spirit to jump on top of that baby dragon. Hook, line, and sinker for Diego B. What a beautiful play, and as you said, Schwarzen, no need to go crazy, no need to sell out naked graveyard. Defend first, then graveyard in. Beautiful, beautiful response from Diego B. It truly looked like this game had escaped him.
Well, Schwarzen had this, and maybe just forgetting what he's up against, there's no big spell in Diego's arsenal. There's no minor in Diego's arsenal. The only way he does damage is snowballs, which he's not going to do much with here on offense, or a balloon connection. That's it. And he has this tower way down on the right-hand side, plays the baby dragon. Maybe this was a cycle issue, but what cycle issue makes you spend 5 elixir in that moment?
Nothing. No, none. Where's the cage? Where's the Ewiz? Where's the Mega Minion? Where's the anything? Defend, 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 and then go on offense. You've got a great win condition, and the best thing about it is that that naked balloon comes down and you over defend. Guess what you get? A massive counter push to tank for that graveyard. So Schwarzen so close, but no cigar, my friend. Unfortunately, looks like Chivas' rookies are going to come out on top, of course, with a really, really nice coup de grace from Diego B. And no surprise there for Diego. He's been in that spot a lot, and good job, my friend. Very good job.
Yeah, well played for Diego. I mean, I would love to see what was in Schwarzen's hand at that moment, what the heck was going on. Really, really kind of confounding decision in that moment. Pompeo's mistake, you get it. He was trying to get some tower damage here, thought he'd get tower damage and take the units out. Maybe he fat fingered it a little bit. Who knows? Was one tile off. That one, though, is just one of those ones where it really felt like Schwarzen had it wrapped up. A poison would have finished that tower if you can just hold off on defense and cycle back around. So a rough one there. Misfits now falls to 0-5. Andrew, is there any way they can win out, get to 4-5, and be a contender for that number 6 spot?
Unfortunately, no. I'm going to say it here and now, and this isn't anything against the players on the team or the organization as a whole, because I like all of the things I just mentioned, but this season isn't the season for Misfits, and a lot of seasons haven't been the seasons for Misfits, even though most recently they had the most success. So maybe too many changes in the offseason, maybe too much focus on rookies, maybe not quite the lineup where you need it to be, but I'm pretty sure this match day kind of ends the season for Misfits. I think the best thing they can do now is ruin playoff hopes for their competitors.
Yeah, Misfits coming up next week. They have SK Gaming, and then after that, they have CRL Royale Betis, then Liquid, then Dig. So not an easy road for Misfits on the back. And on the other side of it, Chivas with their first win, finally out of the Bagel Brigade. GG, well played, guys. We'll be back in 5 minutes with our next match of the day, Tribe Gaming against CRL Royale Betis. welcome back, and congratulations to Guerrero for playing in the break time battles and experiencing what it's like to go up against a true CRL pro. And it's appropriate we are looking at the French countryside, because coming up next, Tribe Gaming with the Frenchman Azili as part of their 2v2 duo. Andrew, we've talked a lot about the 2v2 level of Tribe Gaming, but today, Tribe is 2-2 in sets for the 2v2 set, but their opponents, Cream Royale Betis, Michifu, Diego E, have not yet lost one in the opening chapter.
Yeah, really, really surprising there when you talk about how dominant Tribe was as a 2v2 duo, just in the history of seeing these two guys together in both and Azili's. But like you said, they've been swept twice already this season, but still having a lot of success as a team. SK was the first one to take them down and give them one in the L column. But that being said, they're still Tribe. TNT's been outstanding. Jupiter King is still one of the best in head-to-head play. Cream on the other side of it, as you said, very, very strong in 2v2. King of the Hill, they seem a little bit more balanced with the rest of the squads out there, but it's going to be very, very interesting to see who takes this opening set.
Well, you know, you have to look a little bit at the difference in strength of schedule for these 2v2s so far, right? If you look at what Tribe's faced, they've lost to Space Station and SK in 2v2. Cream in 2v2 has faced Liquid in their first match, who have not been great in 2v2. Dig, who's up and down, and then Queso and Payne, who've both had a lot of 2v2 troubles. So I don't know if there's enough yet for us to say that Cream is the better 2v2 duo, but guess what, Andrew? Today we get to find out.
Yeah, and the other thing about Cream is what you're talking about is the strength of schedule. They've still got a lot of heavy hitters ahead of them in the road, so it's going to be very, very tough for them to stay in that top 3, top 4 spot. They're going to have a lot ahead of them. But first is Tribe. Tribe, can they bounce back after getting swept by SK Gaming? There's only one way to find out, man.
Guys, let's go jump right into it. Tribe Gaming, Cream Royale Betis, in our second match on this Sunday.
Y bueno, ¿qué te puedo decir? Para mí este partido entre Tribe y Cream es muy importante. Quiero ver qué se siente. Tribe acaba de venir una primera derrota. Estaba 3-0 ganando. Lo vapulearon 5-0. Y se viene con un Cream que también viene con sus esperanzas, con un récord de 2-2. Así que otro de los mejores partidos del fin de semana.
With the reverse sweep to open up our Saturday.
Oh my goodness. Michifu and Diego.
Tribe took their first loss last weekend, a blowout against SK Gaming. They look to bounce back against a very confident Cream Royale Betis, who's having trouble in that third and final set.
Swept by SK, they're going to be angry, they're going to be hungry, and they're going to hold on to that second place position.
Tribe Gaming versus Cream Royale Betis. A Tribe encontrou sua primeira derrota contra a SK, mas mesmo assim é a favorita para esse confronto.
And for me, I took St. Belican out of my lineup. Oh my gosh, why did I do that? 3 crowns coming in for the Cream Royale Betis, and nothing but smiles here for St. Belican. You called it.
In the middle, Tribe Gaming a chance to go 4-1 and take sole control of that number 2 spot in the standings. On the other side of it, if Cream Royale Betis can tie things up, they would be even with Tribe and have that head-to-head tiebreaker. Andrew, a lot on the line today between these two squads. Who do you think has the bigger bit of pressure?
You know, the bigger pressure, I think, falls on Cream, because a lot of people expect Tribe here, Azili's, Boofmag, Jupiter King, and TNT to be in the top 3, and I think they expect it, and I feel like for them, it's not quite to the situation where if we don't make it, that would be insane. There's so much pressure. I think in their mind, they've still got that top 3 locked in. But TNT and St. Belican are kind of the X factors for both squads. Both of those gentlemen have done so much for their respective teams.
Looking at these lineups, you can see that you have great 2v2 duos, Diego E and Michifu, currently the number 2 rated duo on the season with an 8-3 record, 74% win rate, just behind Morton and Sam at a crazy 91%. The big question for me today, Andrew, is which Pedro shows up for Cream when we get into head-to-head play.
You know, for someone that's such a big fan of Pedro, which I truly am, when you say which Pedro, we're not talking about on a daily or game basis. At this point, we're talking about seasons, and eventually it feels like we're going to start talking about years. This season, we have not seen Pedro show up at all. I need to see the Pedro of old today if Cream wants to have a chance. But 2v2 is first. Michifu and Diego E getting rid of Graveyard, which I actually really like there. Azilius and Buffmek on the other side of it. Our home team banning Tornado.
Well, it does take out that Balloon Graveyard deck that Azilius and Buffmek have enjoyed running. We'll see if they do something else creative. Aggressive early pressure right now from Michifu and Diego E, picked up easily by Tribe Gaming.
Yeah, Tribe cleaning that up with ease, and now you see that Brawler back. That Brawler run into that Valkyrie, and a Giant Skeleton played in the back.
I'm always skeptical of minor wall breakers in 2v2. We'll see if Michi and Diego E can do enough with it here against Tribe Gaming's Azilius and Buffmek. Azilius, despite the struggles of this season, 2-2 overall in sets, still boasts the best win rate career-wise in 2v2 at 68% over all his seasons in CRL West.
Yeah, there's just been something about minor wall breakers in 2v2 that just hasn't worked. The minor damage on the tower is not enough to contend in double and triple elixir time. And then you talk about wall breakers, there's always a response because this is 2v2 and not 1v1. Your opponent usually always has at least 2 cards ready to go at all times to deal with those wall breakers for at the most a -2 trade at most.
Valkyrie holds all that at the bridge, so as we cross the midway point of regulation time, it is a slight lead right now for Cream Royale Betis with damage in both lanes.
And I'm very, very excited just to see who comes out on top of this 2v2 because it really will be a test to show maybe who the second best duo is out there.
Curious to see what happens when Cream and SK finally face off and we have two talented 2v2 duos. We already saw what happened with what SK has done to all the best 2v2 duos in the game at this stage.
And that is a lot of fireball value.
And that balloon might get a drop, just barely gets stopped by a 1 HP Musketeer, and a good pickup. 2 different pickups right now on that Giant Skeleton for Tribe.
Yeah, I really like what they had to do there because they needed to get something on the other side of it, and then ideally that Lumberjack, as you can see here, turns this balloon into great offense. Raged up, Fireball, Snowball comes in. So what they did is they did a great thing and turned their defense into offense, which demanded their opponents to overspend.
This has been a really great 2v2 battle in both directions so far, and you can see the evidence of it. Pretty even, 1750 to 1670 as we go into the final 20 seconds of regulation.
Yeah, only 80 HP separating these guys, as you said, really showcases how close they are in skill.
Eagle Spirit comes behind the Giant Skeleton, does leave 2 bats on the board. The defense against these balloons has been very good from Cream Royale Betis. And that Fireball will get the Musketeer out of the way, so this balloon should get a connection and forces a Fireball out. Huge play for Tribe. Very low on Elixir as Cream Royale Betis, and you can see the pressure coming in on the right-hand side.
Yeah, you know, what's so fascinating, though, is that there's just enough pressure put up every single time to demand that Goblin Cage out of Tribe, so they're not getting as many positive trades or preventing as much tower damage as I think they'd like.
Great Musketeer protection out of Cream Royale Betis. Skeletons and Goblins forcing out a lot of play from Tribe Gaming. So as we go into the final 90 seconds, Cream does have the advantage. Miner comes down on the left-hand side to add to that number.
I want to start seeing these miners plus spells coming down almost in conjunction with one another so that miner would have gotten another couple hits on those bats and go for the spell cycle out and over defend. I don't think they really need to try anything with their wall breakers anymore.
And that's going to be an easy defense on the right-hand side, but you see Azilius and Buffmek setting up in the left-hand lane.
Uh-oh.
Bats trying to push that balloon towards the Inferno Tower, cannot do it. Spell does not get on the Musketeer, doesn't matter. 371 on the left-hand side, 99 HP. Can Azilius and Buffmek get it done before they lose this left-hand tower?
A beautiful last-second snowball from Tribe. Evens things up, gives them the lead, but right now, Michifu and Diego E going for a last-ditch effort.
Oh, and just can't get it done. Diego E knows they got caught out. Cannot wait to see that balloon play on the left-hand side. Put a lot on the right. Inferno Tower way over there to defend. And Azilius and Buffmek set the trap, sprung it, and got that tower done on the left-hand side.
They had such a great great bait and switch there with the right-hand side, making Mitchie and Diego spend just a little bit more attention and elixir than they would have liked to, and then they go crazy on the left. The last second freeze plus fireball, and then the last millisecond snowball to allow that bomb drop to come in. That timing was impeccable from Tribe.
We'll take a look at the replay here in just a moment. And Michifu and Diego E take a rare loss here on the season. Their 4th game lost in 2v2. And Andrew, here we go. This is a great play. They go with the Lumberjack and Balloon to the right-hand side. No, this is earlier on, actually. This is the first Balloon freeze push with the defense.
Yeah, and you saw how much Diego and Michi had to spend every single time here. They've got 10 elixir in their hand. Their opponents have 11, and their opponents get that bomb tower damage in. So every single one of those trades was coming up negative and giving them a little bit of damage. But here we go. Left-hand side, the Brawler's on the tower and has been there for a moment. That's why the Balloon is so healthy. And that last-second snowball is the game winner.
Yeah, really great way they put it all together. The wall breakers trying to distract a bit at the bridge, but at this point now, look, you see Cream just trying to sell out. They know they have to, but they just got caught flat-footed. They played that Inferno Tower very, very low. They focused. They were like, look, this game's happening on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Maybe weren't nervous enough about the left-hand lane, and Buffmac and Azealis punished them for it.
Yeah, and that's what happens so often with Balloon. That's why, for instance, you and I who've been playing that Mortar Barrel deck, your only great response to air troops is that Musketeer. So when you're playing against the Balloon deck, for instance, you always want to hold it and make sure you never cycle it carelessly or frivolously just because you want to get it back on the board. That's kind of what happened with their Inferno Tower. They knew what they thought they wanted to accomplish with it, but like you said, you don't need to commit to either side with Balloon. And they were committed to the right-hand side. Azealis and Buffmac go, great, you're going to do that. We're going to go left and we're going to win the game.
Absolutely dumped everything into the left-hand lane. Big win there for Tribe Gaming. Still a great example of 2v2 prowess in both directions. We'll see if Cream Royale Betis can tie things up here in game number 2 in just a moment. I did like the Inferno Tower inclusion, and considering how popular Lava Hound and Balloon would be in a situation where you don't have Graveyard, smart call by Cream. Do they do it again here?
I actually don't mind the Inferno Tower being in there. I like that it can stop lava. I like that it can help out with Mega Knights on the board. I like that it helps with Royal Giant and keeps it at bay. I'm good with that card. What I did notice, though, and it's something that we pointed out at the very beginning of that game, is the wall breakers become effective, or basically ineffective, as you get into double and triple elixir. And one of the indicators of that was at the very, very end when that big push came from the left-hand side with Tribe. One of the first units played, one of the first units of defense played, were the wall breakers to try to kite the giant skeleton away. That's 2 elixir that you get nothing out of. The giant skeleton's barely kited away because there's so much behind it, and now you have no way to create offensive pressure. So that's why for me and you, I believe the wall breakers, you got to get it done in single elixir or at most double. They just don't seem to work in 2v2.
Here we go. Let's jump into game number 2. Set point advantage right now for Tribe Gaming. And you did mention that wall breaker kite. The Ewiz was right behind it. The Ewiz jumped right on top of those wall breakers. And look at this, the second hyper-aggressive opening from Cream.
Yeah, and this time they get a lot more out of it, which is, it's surprising, right? Because when you go hyper-aggressive early on against a good team, usually they'll end up getting a positive elixir trade out of you, but not the case this time around.
And you can see Michifu just kind of sitting on his elixir there for a minute, trying to get the timing right. And another 6-man split, 3 and 3 this time. Played by Buffmac.
So one thing that Azealis and Buffmac are going to want to do is just always cycle their 6-man in the back, because if they are going against Royal Hogs, it's always going to be a good thing to have those guys hanging out on the backside of your map.
First minute away, big damage for Cream Royale Betis in this one so far. And there you go, Royal Hogs with the Heal Spirit behind again.
Yeah, that should be very easy cleanup for the Ewiz there. Goblin Brawler maybe going to sneak in front.
And this time they go recruits high. And nothing splashy, nothing big and splashy at the moment to deal with those.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff to come in and deal with. That King Tower activation is actually going to be really nice. Look at that Fisherman, like a magnet to all of Tribe's troops.
So despite the lack of significant splash due to the Skeleton Dragons, in the hand of Diego E, able to survive that one pretty well. Still did give up some significant damage on the right-hand side, 1680. And again, just high bridge pressure out of Cream.
Yeah, Cream has been playing very, very aggressive today, and it's been working out all right for them. It's just, it's interesting because as you get in double and triple elixir time, and kind of what we saw in the last game is they struggled to get those to get the damage in because they weren't able to orchestrate their pushes, whereas right now, they're just being hyper-aggressive and getting early damage in.
Early spell cycle out of Tribe Gaming, recognizing their elixir advantage, and the Magic Archer goes down. Does get some piercing damage and gives the lead a little bit more room. 1095 to the right-hand side. Miner goes to the back. And this is going to be good here for Cream Royale Betis because the Miner not only gets some tower damage, but opens up a bit of room for those Royal Hogs and forces more defensive play out of Tribe.
Yeah, an ocean of elixir was just poured on the left-hand side of the map, and there was even an earthquake there if you guys weren't able to see it coming in. So all that damage doing so much for Diego and Michifu, basically even in the lead by a hair.
Interesting seeing Earthquake on both sides. You don't see a ton of Earthquake in 2v2, and now we're seeing it out of both teams in this one. And that Magic Archer is, for a moment, getting piercing damage. Snowball pushes it back. Smart save by Cream Royale Betis. That might be enough to preserve this lead for the win.
Yeah, I mean, if that Magic Archer just gets a couple more shots in, it becomes a very, very easy spell cycle race for Azilius and Buffmac, and you can see they're already going for it. Log, Fireball, Earthquake, Snowball as fast as they can, but now they got to play defense.
It's a nice Royal Hogs in to try to keep that Fireball off their tower, and there you go. Michifu and Diego E take the 2v2 over Tribe Gaming.
A 2v2 for the ages, tied up at 1-1 now after a really, really nice opening game. These have been so freaking close, so back and forth, and now it's going to come down all to game number 3. Azilius and Buff by a hair in game 1. Game 2 going to Cream.
Wow, really, really great job. And I think that a big key there was, you look at them playing those Royal Hogs at the bridge and you go, we're in a spell cycle race. What are you doing? But what they're doing is keeping the spells off their tower. They knew that Fireball was in cycle. They did not want it hitting their Princess Tower and potentially losing them that race. Very, very heads-up play by Cream.
Yeah, I like that. I really do like that. And, speaking of heads-up play, Cream was really great at catching these Magic Archers. They were played in the perfect spot, very aggressively, a couple times by Azilius and Buffmac. I think in total that Magic Archer maybe got 3 shots in over 2 drops. That's a win. That is a straight-up win when you have as much on the board in front of it, protecting it as Tribe did, and able to reset with the Log or the Snowball as quickly as Michifu and Diego E did, preserved a lot.
And there you go. You see Fireball goes to the left-hand side. Easy peasy. Gets the win, and now Cream Royale Betis sends us to game number 3. And this is interesting because you look at a team like SK Gaming, who's done their 2v2 wins in dominating fashion. They've lost 1 total game, but it doesn't matter when you still win the set. Cream Royale Betis, their record much closer, their win rate much closer, but currently undefeated in sets and a chance to also join the 5-0 club when it comes to the opening verse.
And look, if I'm a coach, I would rather my players go through what Cream is than SK. If they're both going to be undefeated in 2v2, I want my players to go through the ringer and come out on top every single time. That being said, if you've got a team like Morton and Sam that just wins every single time and they 2-0 everyone, it feels really good. But you want your players to see adversity because you know it's going to come eventually. Whether it's in playoffs here in the West or in World Finals against Ponos, you've got to make sure your guys can bounce back when they start off rough.
Well, SK's faced a ton of adversity over the course of their season.
Yes,
so,
seasons.
It's one of those things where Sam and Morton have already done their battling through, and now they are a well-oiled machine of German precision. Michifu and Diego E, they're going through their growing pains, and if your growing pains result in a 4-0 start on the season and a potential 5-0 with a win here, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really great point you make about them kind of already putting in their time, putting in their work, and getting those heartbreaking losses.
Royal Giant gets a couple of shots to open things up for Cream Royale Betis, and a 3-1 split for Tribe at the bridge with their Royal Hogs.
Yeah, I like the 3-1 split a lot because you can see they actually poured all their elixir into the right-hand side. So their opponent had to focus Musketeer plus Log on the right and then just eat the damage on the left.
Forces out the Fireball on the left-hand side, still gets some more damage. Ewiz comes out to contend with the Musketeer on the right. First minute away, first blood drawn by Michifu and Diego E. Azelis and Buffback now in the lead, but how do they defend against this Royal Giant?
Yeah, we don't see a Fisherman back in cycle. No building going to come down in time, and that's a raged up RG, so it should get one more shot in. Yes, sir, there it is.
You have 3 units on a Royal Giant, and it still does that much damage. Absolutely frustrating.
Yeah, and you know what's great here for Michifu and Diego E is they're going to min-max. You can see right now they're going to get these towers basically even, and their Elixir is ahead now, plus this is on the board. So yes, this tower drops down below what the left tower was at, but now that left tower becomes something that they can kind of ignore for a little bit.
Heal Spirit gives that Hunter a little bit more life, so Musketeer goes away, but this Royal Giant just going to run to town on the right-hand side. That's going to be tower down on the right, but pressure in both lanes from Tribe Gaming.
Yeah, I actually really like the call there from Azelis and Buffmack, and you can see Diego E going, oh crap, man. We got one tower down, but we're about to lose both of ours, and we've got nothing on that Princess Tower.
881 on the right-hand side. Here we are in double Elixir time. CRL Betis setting up on the left, trying to force the conversation over there. They do have the Fireball to contend with one of those Royal Hogs push, but what do they do about the second?
Look, if I'm Azelis and Buffmack, I just go exactly minor after minor after minor, set in Hogs when you have an Elixir lead. Otherwise, just defend as best you can.
Giant Skeleton tries to protect and sort of go for a snipe on that Fisherman. Instead, the Musketeer still gets pulled in. Lumberjack playing some defense, but right now, momentum swinging towards Tribe Gaming. Royal Giant in the pocket.
Yeah, Royal Giant in the pocket. Gonna get some few good shots in, but this is where Azelis and Buff need to go back on the offense. Giant Skeleton Bomb's gonna hit the King Tower. Now get those Royal Hogs down. There they are.
Baby Dragon behind Lumberjack with Snowball trying to play defense, but the Heal Spirit does get in. One pig gets all the way through. Does get that right-hand tower down to 593, but things starting to look a little bit difficult. If Cream can defend this one, we might see a big swing.
Oh,
no, the spell cycle comes in.
Wow, like a river with a dam breaking. Those spells just came in instantly. All 5 of them coming down, and that tower's HP went from about, 800 to 0 in a second.
Yeah, and that's just knowing your magic number. And that's a big one, a huge difference. If you talk about something that could make a swing, a legitimate percentage level swing in your overall win rate in this game, knowing your magic numbers. How far am I away with my spell cycle from winning the game? What's it going to take? When can I pull that trigger? It looks like Azelis and Buffmack had that memorized or written down somewhere because they threw that the second they saw that opening.
Yeah, and the only thing to add on to what you're saying too is their timing. How long is it going to take to get all the way back around? How many seconds is it going to take to make sure that we can get those 2 full spell cycles out? And they have it down like science. Beautifully played by Tribe, and Cream now finally loses a 2v2 set.
You see so much on the board right now for Cream Royale Betis, but Tribe recognizes, hey, you're very low on Elixir. We can put a ton of pressure in. So a great call to sack tower right now from Azelis and Buffmack. You called it out when it was happening, Andrew, and they take that left-hand tower with a very cheap 6 Elixir and put themselves way ahead in a situation where they were in trouble for a lot of this game.
Yeah, that was just a really great trade-off, really great decision-making, and honestly, it was still a back-and-forth battle here when we got into the 2-tower game. It was just with the Fisherman, with the Log, with the Ewiz, the Hunter, there were so many ways to kind of get that Royal Giant and keep it off the tower, or at least take it out as quickly as possible, plus those Giant Skeletons, that Azelis and Buffmack could really do exactly what we talked about. They sent in 1 minor push, 1 hog push, got a little bit of damage from that, and then went all out with spells. So beautifully played, and now finally, Cream drops that opening set, which at this point I feel like makes it a lot harder to win against Tribe.
Yeah, I mean, now you have to go through this monstrous lineup in King of the Hill and 1v1, and they have a very talented lineup, but a very talented lineup that has one player who's not performing at his best, and that's Pedro. If Pedro is playing well, this is still probably a 60-40 advantage to Tribe Gaming. If he's not playing well, this swings to at least 70-30 advantage when it comes to who wins this King of the Hill.
Right, if the conversation was, oh my gosh, I can't wait till Jupiter King and Pedro face off, that's going to be so crazy back and forth, it's going to come down to who plays better, Saint Belican or TNT, that's a different conversation. what the conversation we're having right now is that TNT and Jupiter King and Buffmac are all playing at top tier. St. Belican's really the only guy on the other side of it that has been consistently dominant in King of the Hill and in head-to-head play. You saw him take out Lucas when they played Pain. You saw him pick up, 3 or 4 game wins in the last few King of the Hill appearances. Pedro needs to put it together for Cream.
And here we go, an all-English battle to start things off. Belican, top of your screen, Buffmac at the bottom. Countryman going head-to-head to kick off King of the Hill.
Yeah, 2 very different players, though, in personality, but yes, very, very celebrated and very, very talented.
Belican looking like it might be graveyard here. I'd be surprised to see Belly go with any clone decks against Buffmac.
Yeah, I would as well. It just doesn't seem like a smart thing for Buffmac, a smart thing to try to pull off against Buffmac. And you can already see with the cards that Buffmac has, with the Heal Spirit, with the Snowball, with the E-Wiz, that he was maybe already looking for a way to stop clone.
And you see going with the Royal Giant instead. The moment you see that lightning come out, it's going to be going to RG, and it's curious the overall journey we've seen with the Royal Giant now settled in, with this being the dominant deck for the archetype.
Yeah, still the Lightning being able to take out a building, reset an Inferno Tower, help clean up that support unit, whether it be a Hunter or a Musketeer. It's just such a great spell right now.
Fisherman and Royal Ghost are interesting in this deck for Buffmac because they give him 2 really compelling ways to get after an Electro Wizard that's defending against a Balloon. So we'll see how he chooses to cycle between those 2 and use them as ways to make a path for the Balloon to tower.
Yeah, that's a really good point you make, being able to get that Fisherman in there and get that quick damage on top. And also the Royal Ghost just becomes an annoying card to kind of have to deal with in layers, because what's going to happen eventually is that Royal Ghost is going to get tanked for all the way to tower, and then tank for maybe that Balloon in the most inopportune moment for St. Belican.
Belly's been around for a long time in competitive play, including before his CRL run with Team Queso to the European Championship, winning basically every version of RPL that existed, winning the EU division, America's division, World's division, with multiple different teams in 2017.
Yeah, Belican, we were all kind of worried for a moment if he may step away from competitive play permanently, because he did take time off for school, and very lucky to have him back here in these last couple seasons.
Royal Giant will get a shot on that left-hand tower. 1447 remains. And Buffmac gonna Heal Spirit up and maybe drop. There you go, Mega Knight right in front.
Yeah, this is a really nice counter push here. And that E-Wiz
And that E-Wiz distracted, yeah.
Yeah, really, really nice.
It's going to extend the lead for Buffmac as we go into sudden death overtime. Even on Elixir, but 842 make that 758 to 1447.
Yep, that little bit of even Elixir there with those minions on the board still. Belican didn't want to spend any more, as he knows that if he kept playing from behind, he'd never be able to get another Royal Giant on the board. So right now, he needs to defend better than he's ever defended and get on offense.
And this Heal Spirit will give that Royal Ghost and Mega Knight a whole lot more. Snowball's going to try to does not get on the E-Wiz.
This is trouble still. And another bit of death damage, yeah.
But a huge counter push coming in, Andrew.
Royal Giant on the tower. Belican trying to make a case for himself.
2 Electro Wizards. Fisherman distracted. This is going to be a lot of damage, Andrew.
Heal Spirit in on time. He's just spamming the river. Baby Dragon, though, does not get healed. That is trouble for Belly.
Final minute, triple Elixir.
He knows
he decides to go for a tower race.
He needs one shot and a lightning. That's what he's going for. That cage is in the way. That cage is in the way.
Oh, unbelievable. The Fisherman completely gets distracted by the cage, could have pulled the RG opposite lane, and Buffmac cannot believe it.
I honestly thought that, wasn't even thinking about the cage blocking the Fisherman. I was thinking about the cage pulling the balloon and keeping Belly alive for just a second longer. A brilliant cage distracts the Fisherman, clears the path right on through for that Royal Giant, and now we see Buffmac done for the day in a very, very, unfamiliar fashion of losing the 2v2 set and getting eliminated first game out of King of the Hill.
An unceremonious fashion there to lose the first game of King of the Hill. Tribe Gaming does have the set advantage, but did lose one of their top-tier players in the opening. And let's take a look at this final moment here, Andrew. You see the Fisherman had not pulled to the opposite side a single time during this game. He'd been playing the Fisherman low over and over again. And this is a really tight moment. That could have been the end of the game right there. As you said, the Heal Spirit didn't get the heal on the Baby Dragon, and that could have ended it, or at least put the pressure on. But then this Fisherman tries to get that RG pull to the opposite side, and look at how high this cage is played for the balloon.
I honestly just don't think, he'll always say he was looking for a both. He was looking for double duty. He was looking for the kill of two birds with one stone, but I still think he was trying to defend the balloon, and that Fisherman was just perfectly placed, just perfectly in range. And it was just a brilliant, brilliant a sequence of events there for St. Belican. So right now, Cream in a good spot to come back after dropping their first 2v2 set. Buffmac done for the day. Now we know who else is going to come out for Tribe. It's got to be TNT and Jupiter King. Does Belican, with all of his success this season in King of the Hill, match up evenly against these two powerhouses?
Belican is a gamer. That's the big thing. I don't mean a gamer like he plays a bunch of games on a bunch of platforms. I mean he's a gamer like he is thinking about what you're doing. He's in your mind. He's trying to suss things out the best that he can in a way that some players just go out and play Clash Royale.
Yeah.
He goes out and tries to play you. So I think that's the big X factor with Belican. I think that TNT and Jupiter King right now are better technical players. Their actual overall technicality in the game is superior to Belican's right now. But mentality? I don't know, man. I would not want to play poker with Belly.
Well, dude, exactly. So I sat down with Belican last week, and I was able to talk to him a little bit about that run that he went on against Lucas, because you remember those matchups against 2.6 and then the quick cycle deck. There was no way for Lucas to win those games, and that's all about exactly what you're talking about. Belican's a gamer, dude, and they were waiting for Lucas to bring out 2.6, and he goes, today's the day, this is the game, and that's exactly why Belly is so scary.
I can't imagine he is playing 2.6, but you're talking about it. Two of the primary cards for it, looking like it's going to be Hog Triple Spell, more likely for Belican.
And TNT on camera.
Oh, 3.0 Expo. Interesting.
Yeah, this is very, very fascinating. And you can see TNT coming out with the Fisherman and the Baby Dragon already.
Very curious choice out of Belly. Expo has been kind of dead in CRL, essentially, until this season.
Yeah, and it's actually had more of its success in 2v2, surprisingly.
So first minute away, and TNT is certainly prepared for what's coming next. Looking like he's playing Royal Giant.
Yeah, so both these guys just trying to set up and figure out where the opening is. TNT is not going to do anything other than defend until he gets into double elixir, unless Belly plays a very, very aggressive Expo.
Well, it does seem unlikely that he'll get there to play aggressive that early. Assuming he is against Royal Giant, feels like he'll play it and get blasted immediately.
Yeah, and for Belican, it's going to be, if you know what your opponent's going to throw at you, how do you set up your base to be able to defend on the opposite lane, and how do you be able to get enough of that DPS right on top of the Royal Giant?
And that Bar Barrel, just to add a little pressure from TNT. Good Ice Spirit in response for Belly, and you know, one of the things about a matchup like this one is both these guys know these decks perfectly.
Yes.
This isn't something that's newer in the meta, even newer. I'm talking about, I guess, the RG deck to a certain degree, but both of these decks are so commonly played, they probably have a lot of reps with these ones.
Yeah, exactly, which is why you see this being such a methodical opening to this game. It's going to take minutes for them to figure that first opening because they know exactly how quickly this can turn on a dime. One Expo connection, and then you just defend out and fireball out can be so frustrating. On the other side of it, if you Expo too soon and you give your opponent a great Royal Giant with a good counter push, it can be really hard for you to deal with the bridge spam that ensues after that.
So entering into sudden death overtime, no one has put up a significant advantage, although the spell work from Belican, as you can see one more time, starting to open up a slight lead against his opponent. Here we go. Sudden death overtime, and Belly is just playing defense and cycling spells.
And it's a really intelligent thing to do, because what it's going to do is it creates pressure for TNT to get a Royal Giant down, because he sees himself falling farther and farther behind with each one of those spell cycles, and he knows he has to get back on offense. So he's going to start to force Royal Giants in where he may not want to.
1386, the defensive play. Here we go, and you're talking about it. Royal Giant does finally come out for TNT.
Yeah, this is actually not a bad Royal Giant. That Lightning is going to put in some great work.
And they're even on the in Elixir, but TNT ahead on the board after that one, and now suddenly that huge lead for Belly has evaporated, and the Barb Barrel here to protect a bit.
Yep, and that's exactly what you know an Expo player is going to do after that first exchange goes poorly. They're all of a sudden a little bit down in damage or close in damage. They got to get that defensive Expo on the board. And, of course, throw that Lightning in there as well. Ooh, interesting Lightning missing the Tesla there.
That's going to be a big problem potentially as we get into triple. You see Belly setting up defensively on the right-hand side one more time. That log going to give the lead with the fireball. So Belly going straight up spell cycle at this point. That was just a fireball on tower with 45 seconds left. We'll see if this is the right moment for it.
Yeah, it becomes a really tough spot to be in. You know the Tesla's going to come down here in a second. Where's the Tesla? There's the log.
Really, really smart play. Tons of damage. Royal Giant trying to find a way to get on tower. Not going to happen. Looks like Belican might have this one locked down here with 20 seconds left.
Yeah, just brilliantly smart plays. You even see right there Belican going, okay, I know that I can pour skeletons on top of this Royal Giant. The only way is if you cycle your Barb Barrel or you're in my head and you play the Heal Spirit early. So Belican completely recognizing the matchup, recognizing how this matchup can betray him, and really a dominant, intelligent, methodical win.
Well, there was an E-Wiz maybe about 30 seconds left in the game. It was on the last, it was right before that last double Royal Giant push, where the E-Wiz maybe was just a half tile too low and gave a lot of fireball value. I can't remember if it was a log that knocked it back into range and gave it that first little chunk of damage, but it gave that extra fireball value to Belican for the spell cycle, and that was huge. That E-Wiz stays alive, and maybe that push gets a little bit more opportunity for damage out of TNT.
Belican is working towards a 75% win rate in head-to-head this season, which is just incredible. He's picked up 2 more wins right now, Rich, which you talk about a King of the Hill star. Belican's the guy this season. He's the guy that I don't think anyone expected to be this good in this set.
He's been great. He's been great this season, and you know, this is what Cream needs, is Cream needs one of these 2 guys who are not in the 2v2 set to step up. You know, the big question now is what happens when they do go to that 3rd and final set, when they do go to 1v1. Do you send Belly back out there in the 1v1? He does have a win in his only set appearance there. And if that's the case, how much pressure, how much deck preparation pressure is being put on Belican as the season goes deeper?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think yes. I think you just keep playing Belican in that 1v1 set. You have him, play King of the Hill, see what happens, get him back out in 1v1. If you want Pedro to get back where he needs to be competitively, have him figure it out in King of the Hill. Do not have your match rest on his shoulders anymore. He hasn't been able to do it.
You know, I looked away from the replay just as they were showing what happened with that Royal Giant, with that E-Wiz on the left-hand side, so I didn't see if it was the log that knocked into range or exactly what happened. But doesn't matter either way. Belican with a big win, and now a chance to go 1-2-3 in King of the Hill and set up what might be himself for a 1v1 set.
Yeah, and you and I also really, really appreciated the patience with his spell value there, just finding moments to get fireballs in wherever he could, knowing that he would have to still have 6 elixir in hand. He never fireballed aggressively. He just fireballed when he had no better option. And so that was something that really added up. And that's what we were speaking of TNT being forced to start getting aggressive offensively.
So coming up to our last player for Tribe Gaming in King of the Hill, it will be Jupiter King, who so far on this season in King of the Hill is only 1-1, hasn't had a whole lot of opportunities to come out and swing the hammer in this second set, but he is 2-0 in his only 1v1 set appearance.
Jupiter King, someone that we saw a little bit more of last season, and as when your team plays that good and you're the 1v1 guy. you know, gets to sit back and relax.
Well, it's interesting how last season with 1v1 being the second set, we saw him a ton and barely saw TNT, and now it's been the other way around with King of the Hill being second set. We've seen way more of TNT than Jupiter.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm sure Jupiter King would rather have it that way.
And is Belican going Lava Clone against TNT in the third game?
Knowing Belican and what he coached me with, it feels like he's at least going very, very heavy because he's a guy that talks a lot about just ignoring offensive pushes from your opponent.
So Lava Loon for Belican, and what a zap!
Man.
What a zap out of Belly.
What did he even zap? Like, that was so freaking perfect, man.
Wow. You can see Belican nodding along on his side. Pull that in the replay booth. We want to look at that in slow motion, zoomed in. What a beautiful zap to get that connection. Belican with a huge advantage after the first minute and 20 seconds of gameplay.
You know what? I just got to say it. I just have to say it. For as much crap as he got for counting Elixir in the first game that he played, everyone online talking about it, which was fine because people didn't know it was legal. Look at the plays he makes. It doesn't matter that he knows how much elixir you have. He makes brilliant, brilliant plays there. And these other guys, they have the same advantage that he has. Belly is doing something different this season.
And another great zap, and you can see redirecting the Inferno Dragon to the Lava Pups, getting a nice connection on King Tower, although Belican is going to lose his Princess Tower on the opposite side here and send us to a 2-tower game.
Yeah, so here we go. Inferno Dragon is going to come in. You see the Tombstone coming out as a response, going to be a good way to keep that at bay. And with those Skeleton Dragons set up in the back and getting close here, he may drop a Lava Hound in the pocket, but we'll see.
45 seconds left in regulation. Night Witch Baby Dragon on defense, and you can see going to the opposite lane right now is Jupiter King. Belly getting aggressive with the Lava Loon on the left-hand side.
Yeah, Belican, though, going to need to figure out a way to defend here on the right. He's not going to take the tower. That balloon behind, and now he's about to lose his right-hand tower.
Unbelievable. Excellent patience there on the fireball from Jupiter King to make sure he waited for the zap to come out and reset his Inferno Dragon, push the balloon back into Inferno range, preserve that left-hand tower, and stop the Belican train from going all the way to a 1-2-3 sweep.
Yeah, that Inferno Dragon plays in conjunction with the perfectly timed fireballs and snowballs. Belican just got outplayed there after he took the first tower. I mean, I love the decisions he made early on, but then I honestly think going towards the king there, when he gave that left-hand Princess Tower to Jupiter, was where things started to fall apart for him.
Yeah, that was a rough one, and brilliant play there again. Jupiter King staying in the pocket after losing that tower early, knew he wasn't out of it at all, and the way he waited, hopefully you get to watch that defense again. So this is that first big Lava Loon push on the right-hand side, and this is the name of the game for Belly, and he caught him with it this one time. You're going to see the zap's going to come in just a couple of moments here. Fireball pushes the balloon back. Inferno Dragon on the balloon, zap, turns that back away towards the skeletons, and just a sliver of health gets the connection on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very, very brilliant zap. Belican here ends up taking the tower. That's the problem right there. You see that Mega Minion coming in? It's completely unnecessary. So that's where Belican really makes his first mistake. That Mega Minion is useless. It's 3 elixir wasted. The tower's going to go down anyway, and now he doesn't have that in defense against this push on the left-hand side. Also, this push was way too aggressive on the right. Yes, Jupiter spent a lot, but he also didn't get any damage in on this Inferno Dragon, which ended up pulling out a Tombstone later on.
So you take a look at the damage on the King Tower here as that Princess Tower falls on the left-hand side. Belly appears to have the lead, but this was smart, and we caught it a half-second late there on the replay, but you saw Jupiter King, he says, okay, I know what you're going to do. You're going to zap to reset at what you believe is the most opportune time. I just have to be patient here and wait for you to zap, and I will be able to shut down this push on the left-hand side with the fireball. Takes the tower on the right. GG, well played. Belican with some high IQ work. Jupiter, calm, cool, collected, doing what he does best, staying icy in the face of adversity.
Yeah, Belican was kind of like a spark plug or a bottle rocket there. It all happened really high up top, and then his defense just fell apart for the next couple minutes. Jupiter King, as he said, was able to pick apart exactly how he wanted to defend, the best way to do it every single time, and He just sat back patiently with that knockback. He knows what the Inferno Dragon's going to do. He knows the range on the Inferno Dragon. Now let's support it correctly with the Fireball.
All right, let's jump into game number 2, or game number 4 of this King of the Hill set. Jupiter King trying to go for the reverse sweep up against Michifu, who is 3-3 so far on the season in King of the Hill.
This is where Cream starts to feel a little uneasy.
Pigs right into the Barb Hut Barb Barrel. What was the deck that we saw in the seeding tournament for World Finals in Japan? I can't remember who was running it, but it was it was like 4 different Barb cards. It was Barb Hut, Barb Barrel.
It was Expo Master, and he ran like Barb Barrel, Barb Hut, Battle Ram, something else. It was like literally every Barbarian card in the game at the time.
A lot of blonde on the board in that one.
And somehow he won with it.
Battle Healer in front of the Baby Dragon. Yeah.
Dirty, dirty, dirty. Coming your way.
A lot of pressure here at the bridge, and that Barbarian tanking a little bit for the push behind it, getting a couple swings on the left-hand side. Jupiter is very low on Elixir right now.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for him, that Barb Hut popping those last couple barbs is going to be able to do pretty well with this push and only take a little bit of damage. But really nice, aggressive push there from Michi.
And he still finds himself way ahead on Elixir. Yes, there's 3 on the board with that Mega Minion, but, and look at this, just sets up his Barb Hut in the back to distract, and now continues to add to this Elixir advantage. Michifu has a bank, and Jupiter King's cracking open that piggy.
Yeah, and I really love the play here from Michi to put that Barb Hut up in the back. Well, you go, well, what about the E-Golem? No problem. The E-Golem is not going to come in anytime soon because he knows Jupiter King would not give him that much free Elixir. So this Barb Hut being in the back makes it so he can now set up a second one wherever he wants it to be.
Well, Andrew, I'm pretty sure this is going to be that Graveyard deck that we saw yesterday, now that we have the E-Wiz Poison out. And that's one of those things where you see so many of these pieces coming out, and you prep for E-Golem.
Right.
But right now, the Battle Healer, and I think a big part of it is the change to the Battle Healer hover, maybe kind of giving this deck that we've seen in the past a bit more juice.
Yeah, I guess I was in the middle of speaking when that E-Wiz got played, and that is going to be most likely that Graveyard deck we saw yesterday, which I still think that Jupiter King is going to be in a pretty good spot here moving forward. He's just got to figure out a way to get on offense once, and then Michifu's probably going to be in trouble with keeping up, and that's great poison value right there.
And here you go, Pigs to the right-hand side, and the Battle Healer was trying to snipe that Goblin and then get across to the Musketeer instead. Ill-timed as the Pigs come across the opposite way, and that Musketeer has been a thorn in the side of the South Korean for about 40 seconds now.
Yeah, and that last Barb Barrel just coming in from Jupiter King, adding insult to injury. What is that? 7 barbs on the board here for Michi, and now Royal Hogs come down right-hand side.
Yeah, Jupiter's going to have to sit back here and defend for a moment and find some way to deal with the onslaught of Blonde coming from the opposite direction. Minute 30 seconds approaching, and Jupiter King fighting off his back foot against the Cream player.
Yeah, he really needs to find an opportunity here, but he can't do it. 0 Elixir in hand, no way to get another Barb Hut down, so he's going to eat a ton of damage, overspending once again. Baby Dragon's going to go down, so is the Battle Healer, so he's got to drop this Mega Minion on top as well.
When he couldn't get to that Musketeer, you could feel the swing starting to turn the opposite direction, but it goes back even before that, Andrew, and you can see Michifu just putting the pressure on and Jupiter trying to hold in the best that he could. When that Mega Minion crossed and you saw Michi defend with the Barb Hut, I said it was a bank versus a piggy bank.
Yeah.
And at that point, Jupiter had pennies.
Yeah, so here we go. First Graveyard finally comes in. Fireball to close things out. Michifu doing it for his squad here, but now they've got to go into that 1v1 set.
Yeah, and that becomes the big question is, what do they do here in the 1v1? Do you send out Pedro, who is 1-4 in 1v1, who's 1-7 on the season in head-to-head play? Or do you put Belly back out, who did burn through 3 prepped decks for this weekend?
I think he's still got to go Bellican. I really, really do. I mean, there's still... Yeah, I feel like you really do. There's still obviously Pedro to come out, but Pedro hasn't been playing the way they need him to do it. He just hasn't. So how's it going to happen?
Unsure, absolutely unclear. And we're going to go back. I think this is going to be, you see, so this is a little bit later in the game where you have the 2 bar putts down, but keep in mind, that bar putt on the left, I believe, is the one that Michifu played when he had that massive elixir advantage.
Yeah, it was on the board forever. And sorry, to kind of like clarify what I was just saying, they wanted Pedro to come out in the King of the Hill, maybe to see how he was faring today, but since he didn't come out, I think you have to go back to Belican.
That's a very, very good point. You know, who knows what they've been doing in practice, whether it's been going well for Pedro in practice, didn't get the rep here in King of the Hill. Of course, they did also bury him in that number 3 spot. You know, it's one of those things, Andrew, you think about it where if that's what your goal, why not send Pedro out in the number 1?
Yeah.
Well, it's because you have Belly who's so good at bloodying the nose of your opponent.
Yeah, and then that being the situation that we're in, I think you do save Belican to come in 1v1 because he did play that first spot in King of the Hill. So as you can see here, Michifu just doing a great job controlling the game. You know, that barb hut was on the map forever. He was able to stack them. Jupiter King was only able to get, I think, 1 graveyard down. That wasn't even really a true graveyard. It was more of just like a last-ditch effort to try to get some damage in. And, you know, great plays there from Cream. And here we go, 1v1. Is this their set to take? Will Belican have enough left in the tank?
It's you know, you're probably going up against Jupiter King. And I don't love anyone's chances against Jupiter King. I don't love, look, there are people who are evenly matched with Jupiter King, but I don't love how anyone matches up with him. I don't go, oh, awesome, you're facing Jupiter King, wrap it up with a bow and ship it out, right?
Yeah.
That's not your response. So you have, on one hand, you have Belly, who played well in the first 2 games, but got maybe over-aggressive and frankly outsmarted by Jupiter there on the back end in their game number 3. Or you have Pedro, who is not having a season that you want, where you feel a lot of trust in the guy. So I do not envy the choices being made right now in the Cream War Room.
No, because like you said, I don't think you can bring Pedro out. And then if you do bring Belican out, there's got that in the back of his mind that he went up early against his opponent. And just because he made mistakes, Jupiter King actually ended up taking them here where they don't want to be. Like they don't want to have to deal with Jupiter King right now. Belican could have closed things out and then maybe sent Jupiter into this set with a lot less confidence. So, you know, Jupiter fighting back maybe evens things up mentally and gives him an advantage over Belican, who has been playing so well.
And here we go. It will be Belly coming out for Cream Royale Betis in this 3rd and final set. So Jupiter King in a situation where you think a lot of people expect him to take this win. The question is, can Belican outsmart him from a matchup perspective?
Belly doing all the right things for Cream, coming out after dropping a game to Jupiter and King of the Hill, now in a new BO3.
Jupiter King 85-73 personal best on ladder. And it looks like Belly going again to most likely 3.0 Expo.
So this is again a very, very interesting matchup here. So if Jupiter King is running that mortar bait deck, he has a lot of ground units that he can cycle that will help keep that Expo distracted. He also has a great cycle that can keep up with the quick cycle of Expo.
Fireball to the mortar. No big surprises there. Slight elixir lead for Jupiter, and you'll see he's happy to spend that at the bridge. Log now out of cycle.
The one thing, though, is that little battle of chess that happens at the river between Expo coming down, what's the opponent going to play to defend, what's the first unit that's going to be targeting the Expo, do you get, you know, a knight in front, or do you put the Tesla there, skeletons, you know, that whole battle that goes on at the river. The one thing with this mortar deck is if you can't get a lock on that Expo, it becomes really, really difficult if you're behind an elixir at all to play catch-up.
Musketeer in response, and there you go, defensive Expos from Belican.
So I like this play by Jupiter. Instead of going Fireball, he knows that Musketeer is going to be tanking a little bit. He gets some damage in on that Expo to make sure it's not going to be on the board for that long.
And this is interesting because you can see that Jupiter has the ability to force out some negative defensive plays from Belican elixir-wise. And this is now the 2nd time, maybe 3rd time we've seen him with a bit of an elixir lead. And look at that. The mortar played way to the outside, away from the Expo. Question is, can he capitalize on those positive elixir trades?
Yeah, you know, the mortar is actually going to be able to be on offense and defense still in this matchup. It'll probably end up being on defense more than likely, but Jupiter King, while he can, with the advantage that he's in, and with that Tesla not being played at the river, will continue to try to get these mortars on offense because it's really annoying for Expo players to defend their Expos the way they'd like and take care of this.
And this mortar could get a shot on tower if it survives, does not stay on the board long enough. Second time now that Knight Musketeer have been close enough for the fireball to work at the bridge.
But look at what the things that Belly are doing. I mean, that Jupiter King is making Belly do. You know, he knows the log's out of cycle, so he pours units on the right-hand side. Fireball comes out of cycle, he gets more bait on the board when both those log and fireball are out. He's picking the best response every single time Bellican plays any defensive card. So now that that fireball's down, the log maybe comes out, there's the log, he's gonna go exactly gang to the right-hand side.
Here we are, sudden death overtime, and so far no one out to a significant advantage. And Elixir now has swung towards Bellican, who has a defensive Expo and a fully healthy one at the bridge.
It's because that Musketeer was not played where Jupiter King needed it. If it was one tile over or one tile closer to that Expo, it would have been able to take it off the board, but leaving a defensive Expo on the board is a nightmare.
Oh boy, and that is a huge swing in a game where you cannot afford it. 1390 on the left-hand tower. Bellican now gonna start setting up a city on his side of the board.
That's exactly it. That's why playing against Expo is so frustrating. One great tower lock ends the game for you because your opponent now is gonna go on defense. You're going to have to use your fireballs to open up the lane, and the minute they feel that they're back in the Elixir advantage, that Expo comes back down offensively.
Numbers have this at about a 60-40 matchup in favor of 3.0 over the Mortar Skeleton Barrel deck. And right now you're seeing the results of that being played at the highest level.
Yeah, and that fireball right there for Jupiter King is basically going to end it because now that Expo's completely healthy on the board, Bellican can easily get back around to a next one, and that Expo will be around half health.
Final 30 seconds, and feels like the writing's on the wall in this one, as my co-caster has already pointed out. Gonna take a miracle here, and if there's someone capable of miracles, certainly it is Jupiter King.
Yeah, Bellican there. Oh, misses the fireball on the Knight, but Knight's still there to tank for that mortar. And setting up SimCity, as my co-caster also pointed out.
Yeah, trying to pour things on at the bridge right now is Jupiter, and look, this Mortar Skeleton Barrel deck does have the ability to put on a ton of damage in ways that you don't expect in the last seconds, but not if you can't get past those Teslas. Bellican locks things down, takes a pretty easy win in game one of our final set.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty dang easy for Bellican there. Yes, it's a frustrating battle, but I think he knew exactly what was going to happen. He knew there would be one moment where he was going to be able to very, very efficiently defend and then just get that Expo down. Or his opponent was going to make one small mistake and not get enough damage on that Expo. And literally all it was this time was Jupiter King's High Musketeer not targeting the defensive Expo of Bellican. And then from that moment on, it was all downhill.
Bellican with a chance now, 2 consecutive match points against Jupiter King. A win for Cream Real Betis would put them at 3-2. Drop Tribe down to 3-2. Would put all 2 of those tied up with Space Station firmly in the middle, in the bottom half of our top 6 qualifying spots.
Yeah, and just to remind you guys, Tribe did beat Space Station Gaming, and Cream has yet to play.
So here you go. You see, this is the beginning of the end here, Andrew, and you have one Expo stay on the board, you have another one come on down, and pretty much everyone who's ever played Clash Royale has been in this exact moment and done something between a resigned sigh and a break your phone in half and begin looking up how to order a new one.
I mean, I think that's the #1 deck that people hate losing to, because you know every card, you know exactly what they're going to do, you know how they're going to defend, you know everything that's going to happen, but for some dang reason, that Expo still connects. There's a great fireball that comes in, a great log, or if it's a different deck, an incredible NATO to pull something out of range. I hate losing to Expo, but here's the thing. It's really hard to make it look as easy as Bellican just did. You used to play Expo a lot. I've tried to play it. Great players make it look like an always win deck unless it's a horrible matchup. It's not as easy as they make it look. That was really nicely played by Belly.
Well, Expo's one of those decks that, maybe more than a lot of other ones, is precisely about knowing every single tile you use for specific matchups, right? Other decks, you can instinct your way to a win. Expo, you have to analyze your way to a win. And that might be one of the reasons why it can be so frustrating by so many players who are really analytical can have such success with it, because if you memorize every single matchup and every single interaction and every single placement for that matchup, it's very rare that you find yourself in a situation where you lose when you did have matchup.
Yeah, and also, you know, to kind of speak on knowing every interaction, knowing every matchup, knowing what you're supposed to do is if you look at the beginning moments, the beginning minutes of that game, neither person ever played their win condition because they knew exactly what was going to happen. If Belichick got too aggressive and didn't connect the way that he needed, it's game over. And if Jupiter King got too aggressive and didn't have any units on the ground, it was over. So you talk about, yes, these matchups are so familiar, but that doesn't make it any easier. It makes it more difficult because your opponent knows everything about your deck.
Yeah, you try to step one direction, and it's almost like you're doing that dance on the sidewalk. Well, who's going to go which way?
Yeah.
And you can't figure. Both of you keep going the same way over and over again. So here we go. Game number 2, and it is Belichick with match point for Cream Royale Betis. Let's go.
Yeah, Jupiter King not having the greatest showing in his last, 1v1 outings, or I guess head-to-head outings, if you will, because we're talking about losing to SK, not even getting to play in 1v1, and now Belichick maybe taking it to him here in his set.
So Royal Ghost cycled in the back, and you see that corner cycle rather than King Tower cycle because of the new path based off that hover mechanic.
Nice fireball there for Jupiter. And a lot of leaked elixir here from St. Belichick.
Yeah, kind of sitting back and not wanting to spend too much on that bar barrel.
Wow.
But taking a decent chunk of damage early on.
Yeah, sitting at 13 elixir wasted to 8. Jupiter King probably recognizing the situation and going, all right, I need to maybe chill out.
Well, Jupiter knows that Belly wants to play the slow game here, so you can see him cycling that Inferno Dragon, just wants Belichick to play early in a way that he doesn't want to do.
A little shake of the head there from Belichick.
Yeah, I saw that.
Maybe not very happy to have his Knight out of cycle with his Mega Knight coming down.
Mega Knight in and that Royal Ghost trying to escape. Good NATO there from the Brit.
And Knight back in cycle, and going to end up being in a decent elixir spot here because he's got... Oh, nope, he has to overspend. I was going to say he's going to have a counter push, but that Knight ends up going down.
And this could be just a hair of damage on the right, and there you go. Going to be one E-Wiz shot and still a 2 elixir advantage for the South Korean.
Yeah, Belichick really frustrated with that. Now he's going to go try to switch tunes here and go to the left-hand lane, see if Jupiter wants to oblige.
You saw that Jupiter chose to give away that elixir advantage. Rather than pressure the right-hand side, prepare for the defense on the left.
And this Ram Rider going coast to coast, helping just a little bit out with the defense on those skeletons, and now the Royal Ghost plus Barb coming in. However, that Barbarian not going to do any favors to the Royal Ghost. Oh, wow.
Oh,
wow.
A little miss there. Royal Ghost will go all the way around. Space Ghost going coast to coast instead.
Oh, man. You just dated us, brother. You just dated us. Great
Fireball clears off the Ice Wizard. Yeah, beautiful fireball here. Jupiter does need to contend with the Baby Dragon on the left. Chooses to throw the E-Wiz down in response as we head into sudden death overtime. 1761 on the right-hand side. Jupiter in control, but of course Belly is playing Graveyard. That can change in a heartbeat.
I wonder if Jupiter had one more elixir in hand right there, if he would have thrown the Ram Rider in front of that E-Wiz, but not the case, and still kind of playing some defense here.
Sets up slow to the right-hand side. Bomb Tower will come out of that unscathed.
It's going to be really tough for Jupiter King to find a great opening here moving forward, and that one graveyard could be brutal if it lands correctly for Belly.
It's a nice high Inferno Dragon here to set the line and deal with both of these tanky troops and stop any real graveyard push
Yeah.
from coming through.
Yeah, exactly what you call it. Setting the line right there at the river, not allowing Belican to get an inch. And you can see it's starting to get really frustrating. Only 63 seconds left, and Belican needs to get a good defended tanked graveyard in.
And this is, you saw Jupiter not pressure the Elixir advantage earlier in the game. Here you see him putting pressure on Elixir advantage, and there you go. That fireball just got the Ice Wiz in range before the Tornado came in on defense.
Yeah, really beautiful fireball. High, outside, pushes it forward. Belican knows that, once again, setting the line, not able to get anything tanking for that graveyard. Royal Ghost comes in just in time. However...
oh boy, not quite in range for the splash damage, but things are quite close. 14-17 to 16-66. This time Jupiter King setting up to the left-hand side because he wants to protect this lead in terms of damage, not let a tank get through and try to maybe win the spell cycle race. Don't know if he can do that one here, Andrew.
Yeah, look at that. The tank squeezes on through. The barb goes in right in. Poison is in. St. Belican should take this.
And he will take it. Belican.
Wow.
Huge performance on the day. 2-0 in King of the Hill. 2-1 King of the Hill. 2-0 in 1v1. And that is a brilliant run for the British Bomber.
And you see right now, yelling Vamos to his team, screaming, let's go. St. Belican is elated, and he deserved it. What a performance this young man has put on this season. He is definitely an S-tier player right now.
Man, he's having a good one, having a great run. Jupiter King just got stuck flat-footed, and you see why he threw the Ram Rider to the left, but it meant that when it came down to the end, he was trying to win a race against a player who could put a ton of direct damage on that left-hand tower, and you're not going to win that fight.
No, and Rich, our predictions today, my friend, they are quite off. Chivas takes match 1. Cream taking down Tribe for their second loss in a row on the shoulders of St. Belican in King of the Hill, and of course here in the 1v1. And Rich, it was all about these bridge battles over and over. We felt like Jupiter King was winning them because of that Inferno Dragon, but Belican never gave up too much, and it was just sneaking in those bar barrels to tank for a hair, just for a second, for those graveyards, and that was everything.
It's an interesting question right there at the end. You're sending the Ram Rider to the left-hand side, trying to hope that you keep any of the tanks from getting across the bridge, that you set the line there one more time. Maybe the Ram Rider hits one skeleton as it comes through, maybe two skeletons. There's a few things like that. But you let Belican decide where the game takes place in a situation where he can put 9 Elixir directly on your tower, and all you have is a fireball to go the opposite direction. You know, Jupiter King is one of the best on the planet and an infinitely better player. He could have no hands. He could still beat me in Clash Royale. I just don't understand the Ram Rider to the left decision in that moment.
Well, what was so interesting about this matchup that really didn't become apparent for so long, you know, something that you and I usually talk about instantly when we recognize Graveyard being in the opponent's hand, is Jupiter King had no good responses to the Graveyard other than creating so much offensive pressure. So it was all about making sure those bridge battles happened, and then that Ram Rider in the back coming through late was, again, another added layer in to make sure Belican couldn't pull the trigger on the Graveyard. But once he was able to keep things at bay, or maybe once that Ram Rider was played in the wrong spot or too much Elixir, 5 Elixir too far behind the battle going on at the bridge, Belican goes, great. I can even sneak a bar barrel through now that everything's up front, and you have no way to stop those skeletons piling up. So both of these guys, if you talk about even in game 1 and in game 2, recognizing a perfect matchup, equation of how to win, it was just Belican played it better.
Yeah, and this is going to make things very, very interesting, Andrew, because Tribe Gaming now, as I said before, falls to 3-2. Cream rises up to 3-2. And now you have Cream, Space Station, and Tribe in the middle. And let me tell you about our top 3. SK Gaming 5-0,
Yeah.
Team Queso and Dignitas are currently the top 3 teams in CRL West.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise there, but you know what? They have all been playing so well, whether it's Dig, all as a squad working together, of course, Bale there, Ruben doing it for Team Queso, or SK being perfect basically in all facets of the game. This leads to our last match of the day, Pain Gaming versus Liquid. Who's going to come out on top in this must-win matchup for our former world champions?
And welcome back. Some beautiful shots of Mont Saint-Michels in France, and a rough one for the French today. Tribe Gaming falling in a nail-biter to Cream Real Betis, and of course only one Frenchman on Tribe Gaming, but still a tough outing and a bit of some shockers today, Andrew. It was a bit of a surprise in our opening matchup, or maybe not a surprise. I thought Misfits would carry it, but Chivas Esports finally getting, maybe not a surprise, finally getting things locked down the way that they expected to play this season is a better way to put it. And then here, Cream Real Betis with a mild upset that throws the middle of the pack completely into chaos when it comes to our playoff picture. And that's going to be important as we move on. And now we go into our last one where Team Liquid fighting to stay relevant in playoffs, Pain Gaming fighting to get back the one win that they didn't get to keep.
Yeah, you know, you and I feel like are usually pretty on with our predictions, but today has been all over the place, and even the beginning of the last match, I feel like felt okay, right? It felt like it was on track. Cream and Tribe going back and forth in a great 2v2 set. Tribe comes out on top just barely, but then it was all of a sudden St. Bellican who turned things around. So now we talk about Pain versus Team Liquid, and I'm going to be frank here. Team Liquid has to win this match in 2 sets. I don't expect Pain to win this game. If they do win it, it says a lot about Pain moving forward and maybe the successes they can have. It speaks even more about the failures of Liquid in 2020. This is a must-win day for Team Liquid.
Yeah, and you know, this is one of those ones where you're against a winless team made of rookies. You have a star-studded lineup of 4 of the best players ever to play in CRL. If you don't win today, I don't know what the path is, not only to playoffs, but the path to World Finals.
So here we go. Pain Gaming looking to upset the best in the world. Pain Gaming versus Team Liquid. Let's see what happens here in this big one.
O Lucas consegue derrubar a torre.
Fechamos com PEN Gaming contra Team Liquid. A PEN precisa muito dessa vitória, mas atualmente quem tá se saindo melhor é a própria Team Liquid. Tancando também, acredito que agora foi fatal para o Pompeio. O Bebê Dragão levou.
PEN Gaming contra Team Liquid. Um jogo muito interessante para ambos os times. Ambos os times aí não estão em posição confortáveis, estão precisando vencer. A PEN Gaming nem se fala.
Por ali, a bola de fogo já pode levar. É só rodar o deck, já tá na mão. E temos a segunda vitória.
Match here. Pain Gaming technically still has not won yet, and Team Liquid seems to be stumbling out the gate. The only problem here is for Pain Gaming, they do not have the depth that Team Liquid does, and Team Liquid could win it easily after dropping the 2v2 when you talk about head-to-head play.
Y bueno, aquí tenemos a Pain, señor, uno de los peores. Yo creo que este es el momento también de Team Liquid para levantar los ánimos. Uno de los equipos que no les ha ido muy bien, pero los vi jugando excelente en el 2 contra 2. Y Team Liquid, si no gana esto, ya te podemos decir bye bye, sayonara Team Liquid.
So into a matchup of what should be between 1 and 3 teams, but as we've almost beaten to a complete dead horse here, Pain Gaming has lost one of those matches due to a rules violation, so they come in with a roster that would love to be pushing for 2 and 3 instead, pushing for a 1 and 3 record. Their head-to-head star, Lucas, needs to step things up here. 2v2 for Sweep and Wallace has been not quite there yet. 1 set win. And the big question is, how do they mix in Vitor, who was supposed to be a big heavy hitter and head-to-head play so far, has only appeared in King of the Hill? Will they put him in the 1v1 set today if they get there?
Yeah, I hope so. He had a pretty good performance last time in King of the Hill, so let's see if he does come out in 1v1 against probably a squad that Pain Gaming used to watch on their way up. Canario, Surgical Goblin, Igor, and Razor, as you said, 4 of the most famous, celebrated, superstar, storied players that have ever come into the game, going up a bunch of, in all fairness, no names of the game. Pain Gaming and Team Liquid here facing off, and it's probably going to start with Razor and Surgical Goblin in that 2v2 once again. The one thing to look for here, the silver lining for Pain, is that they have been struggling mightily in that set.
Huge change for Pain Gaming in the 2v2.
Wow.
Taking Sweep out of 2v2 and putting their 1v1 star, Lucas, into the opening spot. So that tells me that their plan is going to be Vitor for 1v1 if they get there.
That's... I guess I'm not upset with it. If Vitor played as well as he did last match, I like the switch here, but Lucas was also a bright spot for them when you talked about head-to-head play. He's gone 2-2. He took out Air Surfer and he got taken down by Belly, but that's not bad.
Well, let's talk about one big important detail, Andrew. You now have the 2 Brazilians playing 2v2 together, as opposed to one guy down in Brazil and one guy all the way up in Canada.
Yeah, maybe trying to really give themselves an advantage. Obviously, Surgical Goblin and Raz are not in the same place. So the Brazilians maybe going to use that communication to their advantage with this Expo deck.
It's... what a weird 2v2 meta we found ourselves in the fall of 2020. We're seeing Wall Breakers up against Expo in 2v2. 2 things that You know, we saw Pain Gaming play some Expo in the past with their previous roster, with some success, might I add. But you didn't really feel that it would become as dominant in the 2v2 meta as it has this season.
Yeah, it's been really, really surprising, and it's just been really tough to deal with. These Expos cycling on either side of the map, the amount of defense that the decks provide, and of course, how quick it cycles is something that's always frustrating to deal with, whether you're in 2v2 or 1v1. So here you go. So much attention being paid to the right-hand side of the map, gonna be cleaned up pretty cheaply, and an Expo goes on offense on the left-hand side and connects.
There was a lot of smart things that you saw Surge and Razor do against that Expo push. You saw the Skeleton Barrel come in to the middle there, and when it popped, it distracted the Expo and kept the Musketeer alive, creating perfect timing for the Knight to come in front of the Musketeer, and then the Bomb Tower behind. So the overall result of all of this is that while Pain is slightly ahead on Elixir, there's an okay little damage lead in the right-hand lane for Team Liquid.
Yeah, you see Surgical Goblin and Razor here talking to each other, maybe a little bit more than we've seen in the past, but I think the biggest problem for them is going to be figuring out how to get through 4 buildings with wall breakers as your win condition.
I'm not sure if their goal is going to be wall breakers as the win condition. I think they're going to be primarily using wall breakers to put damage onto the Expos if they can, and try to get more in from spells, miners, and maybe skeleton barrels.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree that that's the smarter thing to do, but the problem is if they continue to cycle spells not on top of the buildings, will they end up being able, or will they end up getting caught off guard Elixir-wise because of SimCity by their opponents?
Wall breakers for a little bit of pressure on the left-hand side. Archers take care of that easily. Here we go. Regulation play done into sudden death overtime. And an Expo sets up and a double Night Drop on the left-hand side, trying to look at the cam, see if maybe that was on purpose or a bit of an error.
Yeah, it feels like it was probably an error, but I think it's going to end up being just fine for them. And, you know, Rich, this spell value is really coming to add up as this clock is ticking down. Only a minute 45 left.
Yeah, they've done a good job of getting the spells onto the Expos and catching Expos overall. And the game so far for Team Liquid has been preserving those Musketeers. And so far, that's been a game they've won.
Yeah, this Valkyrie, though, could be some trouble. They need to get something on top of the Musketeer there. Where is it? Knight comes up, and instead they go Expo opposite lane again. So really trying to keep their opponents on their back foot is Pain. Expo.
Big fireball
Expo
log, and there's the lock. Yeah, huge lock on the left-hand side. Liquid has to fireball, and they're going to eat a ton of damage. Lead evaporates in just one move.
And you know another Expo is going to come down here in just a second. They're going to deal with this push. Now Expo going to go back in on the left-hand side. There it is. Tesla already locked and ready to go. Trouble for Surgical Goblin and Razor.
Bats high to keep the Tesla distracted. So again, protection on that Musketeer, going to force out maybe a spell high. And this is what they want to do, is get wall breakers to connect on Expos. That's a great way to deal with it. 11-11 to 11-35. We are very tight going into the final 40.
Yeah, a couple of Elixir wasted there by Lucas, maybe waiting for the correct moment to get that Expo down, but I really wish I would have seen him cycle something else. I think he's still going to be all right, as they've got that 400 damage lead, 300 now.
Oh, timing starting to work out for Team Liquid. Taking the lead back for a second, but one log switches things back around. Rocket cycle in with a final 20 seconds, 5:97. Miner gets picked up by the Valkyrie on the left.
Yeah, really, really nice pick up there with the Valkyrie. Spells coming back in. You see their fireball in. Tesla up high, going to catch those wall breakers. 6:11 to 5:25.
Poison down, Miner in. Can the Miner do enough here for the get spells down instead of the rocket? Fireball goes opposite direction. Lucas and Wallace win game number 1 in a tight one.
3:05 remaining, and you can see Razor and Surge frustrated, but I don't think that they should feel like they lost hope yet. It was a really good back and forth. They were able to keep those Expos at bay for a very long time, and even after those devastating connections, they were still able to make it a game and almost steal it at the end. If it weren't for one Expo connection, they would have taken that one.
That's such a hard one to manage, right? You think about the Expo being able to sneak through in head-to-head play, and 2v2 trying to manage picking up every single Expo, and I really would love to hear from them if that double Night Drop on the left was on purpose, or if that was a single miscommunication.
Yeah, it feels like it had to have been. I mean, when you have so few big tanks in your deck, you gotta save those Knights one per Expo. That's what you have to do. Then you can throw in the Bomb Tower as well, but I think you want to always have one ready to go against the Expo, just in case you need to hit that panic button.
And this is the Fireball log that gets the connection there. You see very low on Elixir is Team Liquid, and they have to contend with the one on the right. They were forced to make a choice, and the choice they made was stop the healthier Expo. Well, you're still going to lose a whole lot of HP on the left-hand side. And that Fireball doesn't get value on either the Tesla or on the tower, so puts them behind another step in the left-hand lane.
Yeah, and you know, they used 2 Knights on that earlier Expo sequence as well, which then made them have to play the bomb tower up close at the river on the right-hand side, over-defend the right, and then, as we just saw, that left-hand Expo connects again, and it just became, they caught in this really, really rough cycle for just a quick moment. It looked like Surge and Razor were back in it, and that their spell cycle was exactly where they needed it to be, but Lucas and Wallace just not going to allow them to get enough damage in time.
So a big win for the Brazilians. This has been a tough set for both squads. Of course, Pain Gaming 1 and 3 in their overall 2v2 sets. And look, they have a tough King of the Hill and a tough 1v1 if they have to go there, but winning the 2v2 would be a huge cushion for the rookies in this situation.
Yeah, you talk about this being a must-win match for Team Liquid. This is a must-win set for Pain. It's the only way they're going to have a slight advantage, and it's also the only place where you find a little bit of weakness in the roster of Team Liquid. So as we hop into game number 2, Pain Gaming looking to really close this set out right now, as it's very important for them to be up 1 going into head-to-head play.
It feels so strange, Andrew, to talk about 2v2 as being a weakness for Team Liquid, especially when you go back to the crazy runs that Canario and Surgical Goblin went on in 2v2 in the past to carry Team Liquid to Western Championships, 2nd place in the West. And then you add in Razor, who's historically one of the best in the set. It just almost feels surreal talking about this being a tough spot for Liquid.
Yeah, I mean, It's one thing when you see like superstar rosters being put together in larger sports, but maybe half of those guys really actually on the way out, speaking of their career and their age. Liquid, it just makes no sense. World Finals wasn't that long ago. They're still in fighting form. They still have incredible talent. They technically replaced their 2v2 player with a better 2v2 player. It's very surprising.
Well, here we go. It's going to be Minor Wall Breakers Skeleton Barrel for Pain Gaming this time around. So a little bit of partial copy deck action maybe, going in the opposite direction.
And we're starting to see a lot more Valkyrie in general, which I like. Valkyrie, great cleanup with the Swarm, really going to help out with the 6-man, and a double drop there at the top of your screen, allowing that Ewiz to be out of cycle and take the damage from one of the wall breakers. That is a type of mistake that you can't have if you want to be top tier.
Well, you're talking about these double drops, Andrew, and we've talked a little bit about, synergy between 2v2 players, experience playing together. The plan was for it to be Canario and Razor in the 2v2. They started off the season together. And then they switched to Surgical Goblin and Razor, and it's how many reps do you have together, and part of that is what we're seeing here. This is the second time we've seen a significant double drop in a 2v2 today from Liquid.
If this doesn't go well today, I honestly think if I'm Eric Benamou, I go back to Canario and Surgical Goblin, Igor in the 1v1, and then that King of the Hill is a switch between Canario, Razor, and Surgical for one spot, and then of course Igor is always going to be in that other spot. It's just, I don't know, 2v2's not working, and they have a 2v2 duo that was great.
That was a brilliant minor from Pain Gaming. Wallace controlling the Mega Knight on the right-hand side and preserving the Musketeer. You even see a whole bunch of emotes popping in from the peanut gallery here. They know that Pain Gaming just put on a show on the defensive side of the board.
Yeah, really, really nice positive trade there for defense, keeping everything right where they want it to be, and as you can see, they're basically untouched.
Wall breakers to the right-hand side now for Pain Gaming. Fireball in for a bit of value, gets the Knight, takes the Musketeer off the board, and that wall breaker just barely doesn't connect in the right-hand lane.
Miner to the back, Bats up front, Knight plus, but that's going to be a lot to eat up for that Mega Knight.
Mega Knight now trying to slide on through, and a cheeky freeze here.
Yeah, big freeze.
Out of Surgical Goblin.
Baby Dragon's still very healthy. Not enough elixir to get any sort of graveyard down, but this did feel like a nice haymaker thrown by Team Liquid.
And forces out the snowball as well. So the freeze didn't result in a ton of damage, did make things closer, but what it did do was force a ton of responses out and maybe this is getting Pain Gaming out of their preferred cycle.
Yeah, and preferred cycle and down by about 6 elixir in hole. So here's the moment where Liquid needs to pour it on at the river. There's the balloon. Graveyard needs to come in behind. They've got to go heavy on offense.
Fireball comes in, does not take out the Muskie, but the freeze does. Balloon trying to sneak through those bats. Will it get a connection in? It does not, but look at this. Pain Gaming down to the bottom of the well in their elixir.
Yeah, they have to keep overspending. That snowball coming in was very important, but it was also very expensive. Even though it's 2 elixir, that makes their whole defense probably cost around 15 elixir.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Liquid just know that decide to throw the E-Wiz on the miner. I said I wouldn't be surprised if I saw them ignore that miner on the right-hand side, but don't want to leave an opening for wall breakers to slide on through. Here you go, a lot of pressure in the left-hand lane. Freeze in.
Oh, that's
Fireball
it.
in. Mega Knight leaps. There you go. Team Liquid evens things up in 2v2.
Yeah, really, really nice put together. Very well orchestrated push on that left-hand side. You saw how much was on the board. There was no way. Plus the elixir in hand that they had, the freeze was going to come in. And that's all what we were talking about. That cascading effect of those mistakes happening in those defenses from Lucas and Wallace made it so they were down 2 elixir, then 4 elixir, then 7.
Just want to point out something strange I just saw. You saw Razor start to talk. I checked the camera and then hold his phone in front of his mouth like we're in the NFL, and he's trying to prevent someone from reading his lips. So I really think that Razor was concerned that someone might be reading his lips on the game plan for Game 3.
I mean, you know, we kind of always joke about it when you watch football games. It's like, well, how closely is that defensive coordinator or that scout looking at the lips of the coach? Well, it's Team Liquid. They're one of the most storied esports organizations in history. There's a reason why Razor is taking those extra precautions.
And you see there that defensive miner play to preserve the Musketeer, and it really felt like the momentum had gone heavily towards Pain Gaming, but I believe this is the push here that, and it's not the push that finishes it, but this is the push that sets up the push that finishes.
It's just an insane amount of units on the board. You see the snowball and the fireball come in, the late freeze, fireball on top of the Musketeer. GG, well played, and going on to the next one. Game 3 here in this interesting 2v2 setup. You know, you've got Surge and Razor on one side, which I think we kind of expected, but then switching it up for Pain Gaming and having a decent amount of success so far. Rich, how do you feel about this change up by Pain?
I think they look better than they did with it being Sweep and Wallace. And that wasn't the finishing. I wish we'd seen the whole piece, but it wasn't the finishing sequence, or it was the finishing sequence. I think that Wallace and Lucas are better together in 2v2. Whether it be that they're speaking the same language, whether it be latency of both being in Brazil versus Canada, whether it be that they have a better synergy. This looks like a much more experienced 2v2 duo that's making far fewer mistakes and maybe playing just a little bit cleaner than it was when it was the Wallace and Sweep pairing.
Here we go. Final game of this 2v2 set between Pain Gaming and Team Liquid. Who is going to enter that King of the Hill with a set in hand?
This would be a big victory for Pain Gaming to take this 2v2. Of course, the most important thing is the match victory overall, and they'd have a lot of work left, but so far, Lucas and Wallace looking good, and you have to wonder where they might be if this was the 2v2 duo they had started with. You understand not wanting to have Lucas in the 2v2, but this is looking pretty crisp so far.
Yeah, and with Vitor now playing decently in the 1v1, will it be a one-hit wonder situation, or has Vitor finally found his correct spot for Pain?
And that's going to be Expo again for Pain Gaming. We'll see if Team Liquid has got on the same page here. We've seen double drops in back-to-back games from the defending world champions. Cannot afford that in this situation.
Absolutely not. You saw how quickly it turned the tide in their first match and how close it ended up being. That would have been an easy win for them had they not double dropped a couple times.
Cage, Dark Prince, two kind of tanky ways to control Expo if necessary. That Musketeer gets completely absorbed.
Yeah, and the Fisherman also is going to be a good way to tank for that Expo and, of course, not really have to worry about pulling anything close to the towers that could be detrimental.
Big breath out of Razor, kind of sitting back, maybe taking stock of the situation.
I mean, I think Razor's starting to play a little out of his comfort zone because he's so unfamiliar with the territory he's in.
Mega Knight easily controls the Expo this time around. Valkyrie going to be right in the middle there.
A lot of great Valkyrie.
Doesn't get to the E-Wiz, though.
That's surprising, but Valkyrie is showing up more and more, and good value there with those things coming across the river, especially with how much Royal Hogs has also become popular. Royal Hogs, Royal Giant, Valkyrie going to do a good job of helping.
Team Liquid ahead on Elixir, and you can see them starting to put some pressure on, putting some cycle in the back and using the Fireball to clean up that Musketeer. They'd love to press this advantage if they can, and look at that, the Lumberloon directly into the Expo.
Yeah, Mega Minion going to help take that balloon off the board, but balloon should clear up the Expo, yep, with a very minimal connection.
And gets the archers off the board as well. Mega Minion will get nowhere near the tower, so current slight damage lead for the defending world champions, slight Elixir lead. Can they play mistake-free Clash Royale for 2 more minutes, or will the rookies of Pain Gaming turn it around again when we hit triple?
Yeah, I mean, Surgical Goblin and Razor really need to figure out a way to defend very cheaply and get that Mega Knight down in front of their balloon. But that's a big, big ask considering what they're going up against.
And again, the balloon trying to sneak on through. Nice rocket out of Pain.
Yeah, rocket out of Pain. You see the double, triple drop. Dark Prince, Fisherman, plus the Heal Spirit coming down. And another healthy Expo lock right-hand side. That E-Wiz is not going to be able to get to that Valkyrie.
Freeze comes down to stop the bleeding, but blood already drawn. 90 seconds left, and it's back on tower again. Pain Gaming pulling ahead, and that's probably going to be GG. Yes, it will. Unbelievable. Pain Gaming comes out and wins the 2v2.
And Team Liquid getting done over twice by Expo in the 2v2. This time, much more quickly than the first. Surgical Goblin and Razor, just no response to that deck. That new 2v2 meta that seems to be rearing its head here in 2020.
Yeah, it's, you know, one of the things I'll say about that Expo deck is if you see that you have a team that you're playing against and they don't quite seem to be on the same page, seems like a good one to pull out.
Yeah, Lucas and Wallace just really, really doing some impressive stuff today against Team Liquid. And again, Pain is going to have a hard time making it to playoffs, but they are looking very, very close to ruining Team Liquid's chances as well.
Yeah, they have to win one of these next 2 sets. And look, King of the Hill is going to be a tough one in both directions. Lucas, I don't know who they're going to put out for their full King of the Hill lineup. It's going to be Lucas and Vitor, and maybe we'll see Wallace as well. Liquid assuredly has a nasty King of the Hill lineup on their side. But that 1v1, it's not going to be Lucas. It's going to be Vitor if they get there against Igor. That's an interesting matchup.
Yeah, and the King of the Hill, as you said, it's a little bit more even than you'd think. Yes, I'd give Liquid the advantage by just a bit, but, you know, Canario, Razor, and Surgical have all been... Surgical, it's not fair to say he's been struggling in King of the Hill because he's only played like once, or he's played twice and he's gotten 1-1. But you talk about guys like Canario and Razor who you expect a little bit more out of in that set.
Yeah, just compelling stuff out of Pain Gaming. And they have a chance here to get this win. And, you know, we'll talk more about this at the end of the day today if we do get to that point. But you see value out of Pain. You see flashes of quality out of Pain. You wonder if on the front end, if they had the sort of bravery to go with Lucas and Wallace earlier on, rather than what really does not feel like as good of a duo in Luke and Wallace and Sweep. And of course, the coaching error in terms of players accepting early in that match before. You just wonder if Pain could be in a situation where they were even or in a positive win record coming into today rather than being 0-3.
Yeah, well, it feels like it took them about 5 matches to figure out where their players should be on their roster. And obviously, you can't just put Vitor in to bring home King of the Hill in 1v1 if he's not playing well early on, and Lucas was. So now that Vitor has started to play a little bit better, it opens up the freedom of their roster. They can be just a little bit more flexible, and that flexibility leads to success today, just like you're talking about. It seemed crazy to move Lucas out of that 1v1 set because he won it, and he's supposed to be the guy doing it. But if Vitor can help out there and Lucas can communicate better with Wallace, that is a much better situation for Pain to be in.
So we should have our King of the Hill rosters coming in here in just a moment. I expect we're going to see Lucas and Vitor both in King of the Hill for Pain Gaming. Wallace is playing well in 2v2. Do you throw him back out again? And yes, they do.
Yeah, they do. So Sweep is going to be taking a seat on the bench today, which is fine. He's put up his He's put up a lot here so far for Pain, and Lucas, Vitor, Wallace in that order, going up against Canario, Igor, and Surgical Goblin. And I think the surprising thing here is Canario, we just haven't seen a ton of him this season. He's 2-3 in King of the Hill, but not seeing him in 2v2 has been a bit of a bummer after his first 2 showings.
And this is a guy who's been so good historically in 2v2 in Canario, right? You know, you talk about what he did with Team Liquid in 2v2. We'll take it all the way back to his season in EU with G2, where he carried them essentially to a number 3 position, went 4-1 in 2v2 sets. The guy can play in that position, and he's got to wonder what Team Liquid does going forward for the opening stanza.
So Lucas looking like he's going to go traditional log bait here. Classic log bait. You see the Ice Spirit, maybe going to see the Inferno Tower.
And you do see a nice little log on the right-hand side to create a lot of pressure. Fireball will clean up the left-hand side, and Canario going to get a nice little chunk of damage early.
Yeah, and you know, 400 damage can be kind of negligible moving forward, especially if it happens this early on, but really not when you're playing bait. You never want to get that far behind when you're playing a bait deck because your opponent knows exactly how to deal with your offensive pushes, and if you start playing from behind, they're going to know and recognize when you want to make desperation moves.
So we'll see if Canario's fixed his cycle. Looks like he's getting his log back in play, and there you go. So Canario now has his cycle probably in the place where he wanted it. Log is ready for the Goblin Barrel, and Fireball / Miner for the Princess if that's how he wants to deal with it. First 90 seconds away, and it is the Team Liquid leadoff hitter with the HP advantage in both lanes.
Oh, I like that High Fisherman. He eats just a little bit of damage. Honestly, the Heal Spirit maybe isn't what he wanted to play there just because he's now going to have 1 less elixir to come through and give legs to this push. Nice.
And I love going to the back with the Miner. Brilliant play from Canario. Fireball in to handle the Knight and the Princess. Miner goes to the back. 1 step ahead of Lucas, who thought he was 1 step ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a straight up oldie but a goodie. That's when you're like, oh man, that's still a thing that people do. I forgot. And it was a really, really nice bait and hook.
Oh, did you see that King Tower activation out of Canario? Heal Spirit in the back, pulls the Juke Barrel, and now things are going to be that much more difficult for Pain's leadoff hitter.
Yeah, we need to definitely pull that on the replay. Lucas now finally able to recuperate and reset, gives him the well played because that was just straight up beautiful.
Wow, absolute wow, and that's going to be a significant advantage. Look, you still want to log on those barrels if you have to, or if you can. But if you have to, now you have better options for defending with that King Tower help.
Yeah, and that way, the having a better chance to defend allows you to do things like what we're seeing right here, is defend an E-Wiz or defend a Goblin Barrel and a Goblin Gang with just the E-Wiz, and he can go right back on offense.
2 princesses on the board can be a bit frustrating here, and Canario... Oh, did he disconnect?
Did he DC?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
That is just horrible, horrible luck. What on earth just happened there?
Oh, my word. Oh, my word. That is absolutely brutal. 1,000%. Absolutely brutal. Canario was playing amazing Clash Royale, and the unpredictable, unbelievable, and unrecoverable happens.
That is a devastating blow for Team Liquid. I mean, you talk about having a rough opening set, having a good start to King of the Hill. Canario doing it all, great interactions, great control of the game, and a disconnect there. It's a very, very apparent disconnect as you see him just completely stop playing cards. And, you know, there's a lot of things that we have to adjust to. This is one of the frustrating things that's going to be a part of it.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know what the chat's saying, but they're saying, hey, you should say that there should be a replay there. Because if we were in the studio and someone had a connection issue, we'd be able to review it easily, confirm it, and replay it. But because of the remote situation, we can't replay these. And so you have this beautiful, what a King Tower activation.
I mean, I didn't even know.
What a gorgeous play.
I don't even think I even knew that interaction existed. And it was such a beautiful play. And that, I think the coolest thing about that play, not only is it fun to watch, but it also shows you where Canario's head at was playing today. He was playing next level. He was being the Canario you expect him to be. Calm decisions. What's that? A +2 trade and a King Tower activation. Canario had it in the bag, and just a devastating blow for Team Liquid, who did not have any room for mistakes or error, or honestly, in this situation, neither of those things, just bad luck.
Yeah, and you gotta wonder how they recover mentally from that when they have to really lock it down here. You know, luckily they have Igor up next. I guarantee you that Surge is fuming at that situation. But look, because we're remote, we have to treat all disconnects the same.
Yeah.
Because you don't know if someone turned their Wi-Fi off because they were frustrated and behind, or if someone DC'd in an obvious one like this where Canario was in a pretty good spot. That's the situation we're in, all being remote, and it's just devastating, absolutely devastating. The worst way to lose a game here.
Yeah, you know, and this is twice now where Liquid's had disconnect issues. The first one was in their first match with Igor. That one was already said and done, wrapped up with a bow. You and I, we caught it so late, and the match was already so done that, you know, maybe we made the wrong call and not immediately recognizing the disconnect. This is night and day. This is 100%, 180% different. I mean, this is just straight up bad luck for a match that was going to go their way. So now Liquid has to bounce back. As frustrating as it is, it's over. It's done. That's a game win in your opponent's hand. Now you're behind in King of the Hill, behind in sets. Surgical Goblin has to come out and bring home a W here and take down at least one with him.
Man, you feel for it. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 2. Igor up for Team Liquid, and wishing good luck. Well, good luck to Team Liquid here if they can recover from this one.
Igor up second, not Surgical Goblin coming out, so, you know, a decent spot since he hasn't faced any adversity today other than just maybe a frustrating spectating mode.
Magic Archer cycles to the left here for Igor. Skeletons to protect. And Lava Hound down for Lucas into the left-hand lane.
And you can immediately see Igor setting up to start being aggressive in the right.
And that Magic Archer falling one step short of Princess Tower range forces the Baby Dragon to come out. Not a bad call, though, for Lucas, because the Baby Dragon can support. A nice kite out of Igor with the Miner.
Yeah, and a really, really nice bar barrel there from Lucas. You saw Igor setting up for the Valkyrie plus wall breakers. That bar barrel coming in makes the Valkyrie turn around, the wall breakers go forward. All of a sudden, you have damage on the wall breakers, no tank in front, and basically complete mitigation.
And the kite play out of Igor has been really, really sharp so far, and the King Tower activation does come in for the Russian. Lucas, a little wow there. Maybe he didn't expect that one.
Yeah, and that is a really, really nice King Tower activation there, especially because you can see how much elixir Igor has to play with right now.
The Brazilian just going to go ahead and eat the wall breaker connection on the right-hand side. That does give Igor the lead, as we are just 15 seconds away now from double elixir time.
And that Magic Archer right in poison range of the two buildings. And of course, the damage on the Magic Archer. So really nice there from Lucas.
A lot of elixir to deal with this out of Igor. You see he waits for a bit to get the poison out. Wall breakers for a kite. And look at the timing here out of Igor. The Skeletons help with the Miner, come forward, help with the Inferno Dragon. This is two top-tier micro players going head-to-head.
Yeah, really, really brilliant management there by Igor, but still a lot of catch-up to do here. He's down by 500 HP already, and you gotta remember, most of Igor's damage is only gonna come from that Miner at this point. It's gonna be very hard-pressed for him to get another Wall Breakers connection.
Nice job, man. Those Skeletons out of Igor to distract the Baby Dragon for one shot while the Bomb Tower finished it off was absolutely brilliant. And now Miner on the backhand side. Wallbreaker does not escape because the Miner comes out in front of it. No,
wow.
One still connects. And now the poison down. Igor about to put the pressure on the right-hand lane.
Yeah, that's going to do it. Igor's going to just turn it up. Miner back in. He's got, of course, that second poison and tornado. And that's going to do it. Lucas calls an oops, and all of a sudden we find ourselves back to even, except Igor is still the best head-to-head guy out for Liquid, and he's still up at King of the Hill. Lucas taking a seat for the rest of the day.
Man, what a game by Igor. Brilliant, brilliant play. And just the little things. You know, you think, hey, skeletons aren't great to defend against a baby dragon, right? Wrong. Distract the baby dragon for one moment, get the bomb tower on it. Just the tiny things that Igor did to put Lucas off kilter. And now a big, big win. Team Liquid evens up King of the Hill 1-1.
I mean, because here's the thing, right? Is those small interactions create positive elixir trades for Igor over and over and over. And as we all know, those lava pushes are expensive. They really are. You got to get that baby dragon behind to assist. There's the poison coming in. You want to send in the miner at the very end. That is a ton of elixir being spent. And Igor, with his positive trades, is able to cycle back around quickly and just miner poison out, essentially.
This was a brilliant performance, and one of these wall breakers escapes. The miner's still tanking back there.
Yep.
The miner's doing its job. One wall breaker is able to escape both the 1 HP miner of Lucas and the bar barrel, and that makes all the difference. GG, well played. Igor evens things up against Lucas, and maybe a bit of extra juice in his tank after seeing what happened to his teammate in Game 1.
And that's exactly what Team Liquid needs. They need an angry, playing with a chip on his shoulder Igor at this moment. Apparently everything else is not working out for them. The ball is not bouncing their way, but the one thing that has been consistent has been Igor. So they need to ride him to success. If he does drop a game in this King of the Hill, Surge needs to step up and do what Surgical Goblin does, which is come in that third spot, come in high-pressure situations, and clutch home a game. He's already done it once this season against Pompeo, which was great. So he just needs to do it again if that's the situation that Igor puts him in.
So a potential preview of our third and final set coming up next. Igor going to face off against Vitor. So Portugal's top player up against Russia's #1 guy, and it's going to be a very interesting matchup. Two very different stylistic players between these two. Curious to see if Igor continues to go fast in his cycle or chooses to sort of throw a changeup, if you will, and go slow.
I think he goes fast here, and the reason I say that is just because he has so much more experience than Vitor does. And Vitor, he looked a little soft up until our last match. The Vitor is up next, correct?
I believe he's the next
Vitor is
person
up next. So he looked a little soft up until that last match. I think Igor goes for a high outplay deck, as we've talked about him playing many, many times before, because I really don't think when you talk about micro, there's not really any other player that can compete with him on this squad of pain.
So let's go ahead and jump into this here in just a moment. Vitor, known as a giant player, known as a very, very talented player outside of CRL, with a big shot here. If he can take out Igor and then get a shot against Surgical Goblin, this would be a massive moment for the Portuguese player.
Yeah, Vitor playing very, very well in his last match. Came out and he almost got that full sweep over Pedro Belli and Michifu, but Michifu turned things around, and then Vitor took a seat for the day. Lucas closed things out and went 0-2 against Belican.
Is to the right-hand side in response to the baby dragon, and again, you're going to see the same thing here, just the skeletons being used to maybe get a bit of a reset on the baby dragon, but unfortunately for Vitor, the Ewiz hangs out right on tower, gives some splash damage to his opponent, and Log, not sure what that was doing.
So this is really interesting because Igor's deck probably will still cycle pretty quickly, but you can see by what Vitor's played already that his is going to cycle faster. So technically he's got the outplay deck, but he's going up against Igor.
I do like the Igor went a little bit slower in this one, maybe a mid-pace deck with this RG cycle. Oh. And what a lightning from Igor. Oh my word.
Yeah, maybe goes with the slower deck, but the very aggressive heads-up plays, and now we get a Heal Spirit in front that's going to demand a response out with this Royal Delivery, and this is something that Igor can still turn into offense with a great Barb Barrel.
I mean, that lightning was so far ahead of Vitor. What kind of tilt does that put you on when you're up against one of the best in the world and you see him step right in front of your path?
Yeah, just step right into what you think. You lean into it. He sets you up and knocks you down just like that. Lightning comes in. He's ahead in damage. He's ahead in elixir. And now you see Vitor playing catch up and defense with his miner. So now his best offensive option is now out of cycle.
Here we go into double elixir time. Bomb tower set up a little bit earlier this time, and now you see how far apart Vitor is spread this time around, not wanting to give that same lightning value as we saw in the previous play.
And, you know, Igor's okay with that. Igor goes, all right, I'm going to take the lightning value on 2 units, or 1 unit and the Princess Tower, 10 times out of 10 until you show me that you can put up a threatening amount of damage, which, as of right now, Vitor cannot do.
Ewiz cycles to the left-hand side to meet the Fisherman, 1750 on the right-hand lane.
That last card may be a poison.
Certainly a possibility. Feels like it would be, and now just loading up troops at the bridge. The Heal Spirit does jump over the log.
Yeah, and now
and
you
Baby
see,
Dragon's still healthy.
Yep, back on offense. Fisherman's still behind. This is the problem with this deck. That Fisherman still being behind now stops the next layer of defense that wants to come in from Vitor, and that Royal Giant going to the tower. This time, Log does connect.
This is just absolute dominance. Absolute dominance, and you can say that maybe it was a tough matchup situation, but you put together the defense that you put together in that first one, and that lightning comes out before you even think about what you're going to do. Oh boy.
And this is the nerve-wracking thing about having Vitor and committing to Vitor as your head-to-head guy is, well, now who is he going to play against? Yes, he fared well in the last match, but look at the dominance here in King of the Hill, and this is most likely a preview of what the 1v1 set would look like.
Heal Spirit gives the RG a little bit more. Lightning takes the Ewiz out, and
it's just,
yeah, good luck.
There's nothing he can do. There's literally nothing he can do. He can't create enough offensive presence to make it so that there's not enough elixir in the hand of Igor to lightning. So what's Igor going to do? This same thing over and over and over until that tower falls.
Yeah, ground and pound. Get it done. GG, well played. Igor takes Vitor off the board.
So a very, very fierce bounce back here from Team Liquid, all on the shoulders of Igor, not really doing anything that is unexpected at this point. I think him beating Lucas and Vitor the way he did is very unsurprising.
And look, he's been the guy so far for Team Liquid this year, or this season. 1-2 in the 1v1 set, and he's had some pretty tough matchups in those ones, but King of the Hill 7-3 at the moment. So, you know, we talked about this beforehand. Igor might come out and run through this whole lineup 1-2-3. Very, very possible. But then you throw him out again in the 1v1. Will he get the win today if that happens? Very good chance, but we've seen the pressure on Vitor's shoulders, the weight on Vitor's shoulders make him buckle a bit so far this season.
I'm curious if Vitor thought that Igor was going to run the Skelly Barrel bait deck. If you look at what he has in response, the miner to create damage all the time, and then that miner plus poison, which is what the last card was, would be a great way to catch goblins, spear goblins, or get value on top of those cheap units. You've got the bomb tower and the Ewiz and the knight to tank for the mortar. I wonder if they were planning on putting Igor on his comfort deck. Igor goes with the big time swerve, and basically it's a counter to a counter.
Look, Igor running mortar in game 2, it's pretty much expected now.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I love this call here in his second appearance today, not going mortar, going something completely on the other side of the spectrum, and just being 5 steps ahead of his opponent.
Yeah, because if you think of what his opponent could have done if it were that mortar matchup, you've always got either the bomb tower or the knight to play tank for that mortar, and then it's just all minor poison damage that becomes almost impossible for Igor to defend. So Igor goes, all right, if he's going to play something like that to stop mortar, I'll just go Royal Giant Lightning. Because Royal Giant Lightning is a pain to deal with if you're playing that deck. So really, really nice deck choice there. And this also frees Igor up to just go, I'm going to play Mortar at some point today, boys. You just have to guess when.
Yeah, when is the big question, and how do you game plan around that? So now Igor, 2-0 on the day, 7-3 in his King of the Hill for the season, with a chance to go 1-2-3 and set up the 1v1 set. But first, has to go through the last guy, the other Brazilian on Pain Gaming squad. Wallace, who is certainly a talented player, but Igor can't be super concerned now, having gone through the 2 aces for Pain.
Yeah, Wallace had a really nice showing against Morton, but like you said, aces. The aforementioned aces have already been eliminated. So now Wallace feels nothing but pressure against someone who is very, very good in these situations.
Well, Wallace has to try to beat Igor, which, always going to be a difficult out to get, and then go up against the most famous player in the game with everybody watching. So it's going to be a tough road for Wallace trying to close this thing out for Pain in the second set.
So Bar Barrel Poison immediately met by a Magic Archer and some tower damage.
So it looks like Igor might be going back to the same deck from game number 2. He does like repeating decks in games today, not going back-to-back. And no, a pretty big shift here with the 6-man Royal Recruits 3-3 split. Which,
again, is a really nice shift here from Igor from playing back-to-back decks or playing Mortar's second deck. He's becoming more unpredictable, which if he's going to be this important to his squad every single match, that's something that he needs to work on, is unpredictability. And today is a great example of that.
That was a big heal spirit, going to get him a few Royal Recruit shots on the left-hand side. And he's going to be pretty even on Elixir going into this next phase. Miner goes to the outside one more time.
Yeah, he'll probably just keep sending it there until, the King Tower gets activated or until he finally wants to pull a swerve when the Tornado is out of cycle.
Wallace setting up for his first Graveyard push. Poison immediately in response, so just a minor poison control deck out of Igor here.
Yep.
With a lot heavier pieces than you're typically used to seeing.
And I like this more. I like seeing Igor run the minor poison control more than anyone on Pain doing it in these matchups, just because this is the type of deck that Igor thrives with, whereas I feel like the other guys are kind of putting themselves at a handicap.
Well, you think about this, right? I mean, this could easily be a minor P.E.K.K.A. poison deck, which was kind of how you saw minor poison control operate for a long time. You take 1/7 Elixir card, the P.E.K.K.A. out, you put in the Royal Recruits, and in the current meta, you get a lot more value.
Yeah, and the really nice thing here is that Igor can pick and choose which side he wants to send his Miner to in support.
Goblin Cage to pick up both the Baby Dragon and the Knight. And a bit of a suspect NATO out of the Brazilian.
Yeah, suspect is a very appropriate word for it. It looked like it could have been really like a really heads-up NATO, but just not in the right spot.
Igor cycles his recruits in the back one more time. 3-3 again, not giving the 4 recruit value to either lane. And the heal spirit in the back to give him a little bit more juice.
And that's exactly what Igor is going to want to do every single time he can. Going up against Graveyard, first he needs to set the line at the river, but when there is no line to be set, when there is no imposing threat, always cycle the 6-man in the back, because it's going to slow down your opponent, or at least delay your opponent in dropping their next Graveyard. So you see right here, he would love to drop a Graveyard right now, Wallace would, but instead, he's got 3 recruits on both towers, making it impossible.
Poison to the left-hand side will put a little more damage down and take care of the Magic Archer, but that's one of the interesting things about this deck and this matchup. You poison the Magic Archer, well then here comes a Musketeer. You focus on the Musketeer, here comes a Magic Archer. Really brutal choices being forced out of Wallace by Igor.
That Musketeer does get a big shot in on the left-hand side.
And then, of course, against the Graveyard, you have the defensive poison whenever you want. So, real brutal situation here for the Brazilian.
This is just why I like Igor playing these types of decks. Is he loves being patient. He's the type of guy that loves watching your whole entire tower fall one minor shovel at a time. Some of us get impatient when that happens. Igor loves it.
Miner into the right-hand side, and interesting that the NATO's out of cycle, but he goes to the safe spot one more time. I would have loved to see Igor go to the back in that one, because the NATO had just been played, but maybe he released it a half step before the Tornado actually came out.
Yeah, definitely a mistake there. You know, it was a way for him to get more damage in. Obviously, he's pitching almost a perfect game, so we have to pick apart what we can. But again, these miners going to that safe spot when it's not necessary is something that's slowing down his win.
Final 15 seconds here. Bomb tower for Wallace. Takes one more shot on the left. 595. Just has to go Graveyard Poison. Hopefully he can get some more damage on the tower. Maybe NATO here to add a little bit more and disrupt that Magic Archer. Not going to help. Igor, angry, comes out 1, 2, 3, gets revenge for Canario's internet connection, and a clean King of the Hill sweep to send this to the 1v1.
Look, I'm not usually a guy that's like, you know what, that needed to happen, or that should have happened, or I'm glad this happened, but I am very, very happy that we saw what happened just now in King of the Hill. It felt really unfortunate to see Canario disconnect with such a strong lead up against a great player in Lucas. To have Igor kind of even things back out after that unfortunate start to the second set, it feels nice that we're moving into the third set, which feels even once again.
Now, here's an interesting question for you, Andrew. Conventional wisdom is you send Igor out. But Igor just played 3 games, pulled out all the stops, played a bunch of tricks you wouldn't expect, and you gotta imagine Canario is chomping at the bit, knowing he was playing perfectly. Is there any way you send out the Giant Slayer in set number 3 rather than the Russian?
If there was any way to 100% guarantee that Canario were to have no issues for the next 3 games, then I would say yes. I would love to see that. I would think it would catch their opponent looking. We haven't seen Canario burn through a lot of decks, and he played very, very well. That being said, since it is an uncontrollable variable, and Igor put it to these 3 guys, he didn't just win, he dominated them. I think you just bring him back out. He didn't play his mortar deck. He didn't play his comfort deck. He played different decks. He moved things around. He didn't repeat anything. I think all of that makes it so that he could even run those same decks back again, just in a different fashion. So as much as I would love to see Canario, I think you still just go to Igor.
Yeah, and you make a great point with the conversation about the connection issues, not knowing if those are resolved or not having a guarantee in that situation does make it hard, especially when you have a best of 3 here. It's not like you're losing 1 game in King of the Hill. This is the match.
Yeah.
So you're probably right here. Send Igor back out. He's playing phenomenally. And Igor, with 5 wins on the day to clutch up for Team Liquid would be absolutely huge. Pain Gaming has got to be feeling really frustrated right now.
Who do you bring out? I mean, I guess you have to go to Vitor, right? I don't think it's going to be Sweep. I don't think you lean into Sweep for this 1v1 set, but I mean, Vitor just got worked by Igor.
Yeah, that's a really, really tough question. Sweep is a confident player, and that's one thing I really like about him. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him go into the situation purely based off of that, off of a mentality question. Mm-hmm. But we don't know what's going on in their practices. Vitor on paper is the guy who should be going in here. But how is he recovering? What's their comms conversation after that shellacking by Igor?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of those things where you're going to need an incredible performance out of whoever you bring out, and then you're also going to need an incredible performance from your analyst, who's got to get really, really lucky, because they've made it very difficult today, Team Liquid has, to figure out what they're going to come out with and play. You need everything in your favor if you're Pain Gaming. Your analyst has got to put in some work right now. Really does. You need a good matchup.
Well, especially because Team Liquid has drastically out-analyzed them today.
Yeah.
The deck choice in game number 2 with the Royal Giant going, you think I'm running Mortar, but guess what? I'm going to counter the counter. And then in game number 3, the Royal Recruits Minor Poison Control deck was great for Igor in that situation as well. So far, that's a game they have lost tremendously.
That's a really good point. You know, that matchup advantage that Igor had, yes, he played brilliantly, but there was no way to break through that last game. You know, those Royal Recruits always being cycled in the back, the poison there was so many times we just saw a poison plus nothing or a poison plus a Goblin Cage, which turns into a counter push. So I like the deck choices from Igor. And like you said, you know, the 2v2 though from Pain felt like their analysts really out-analyzed Liquid. So maybe it's time to go back in their favor. Maybe that's what it's going to be, but really it's going to be about who is it, Vitor or Sweep, and who matches up better against Igor.
Well, I think the 2v2 was a great call because they capitalized on a discordant 2v2 duo, on a group that clearly was not in sync, and they went with a deck that they could play well, that they know that all it takes is one mistake from a 2v2 duo that is prone to mistakes right now.
Right.
You don't have that advantage in head-to-head play. You can't assume that you can force mistakes and press the advantage there. So a big difference, and it's going to be Canario for Liquid. Vengeance here, potentially, for the man from the Canary Islands.
I mean, you called it perfectly. He must want to come back out, and that's definitely a thing that, you know, hats off to Liquid, hats off to Igor, and of course, Coach Eric Benamou to be like, look, our guy wants to go out. He got robbed today. Let's do it.
This will either be considered the most genius decision of the year, or people will revile this as how do you not send Igor back out? And we have 3 games to find out which one Twitter will go with.
Yeah. Here we go. So Canario out for Team Liquid. Top of your screen, bottom of your screen, Vitor most likely running minor poison control once again.
And Goblin Giant Sparky from Canario, we've seen him run this a couple of times this season. And going into Ewiz, Knight. Oh, interesting with the Lightning version here today. Going into Ewiz, Knight, and Inferno Tower.
So not quite a huge overspend there. Gets damage in, takes the lead by about 60. This will be a fascinating matchup because as this gets into double and triple elixir time, Canario is going to be in such a better position. And the really difficult thing of when you're running Sparky, or when you're running into Sparky with this type of control deck, is your opponent's going to just start playing that card on the back of the map of whichever tower is lower.
Miner to the right-hand side, and the Dark Prince will pick up the skeletons, go back and clean up the Miner on the back end halfway through regulation time. And so far, a little bit of dual lane damage from the Portuguese player, Vitor. But the advantage only 10 HP crosswise from top left to bottom right.
So Vitor shouldn't assist this. Yep, he lets it die, which is good because he's going to bait Elixir out of Canario.
Slight advantage to the Spaniard, sets up Sparky in the right-hand lane.
So here we go. This is going to be what it's all about. How does this first defense go, and then how will the two of these gentlemen adjust moving forward?
Well, it's interesting. You see Vitor doing a lot of splitting his damage right now in a situation where he doesn't do a lot of damage very quickly in the opposite lane.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that Heal Spirit coming in, giving a little bit of extra life to that Sparky. And now all this going down the right-hand side, but setting a Miner there is pretty ill-advised in my opinion.
Dark Prince comes high, and the Miner will get a couple of extra shots there. 17:02 on the right-hand side. 15 seconds left in regulation so far. Vitor in the lead, but not by a lot.
And the reason I didn't like that is just because I feel like if he goes to the left-hand side, that left-hand tower stays lower in damage and doesn't allow your opponent to do what he's doing right now, which is continue to play in the lane that he wants to.
Sparky beats out the Ewiz, and Canario slows down, sets up for the next one. Hunter will take care of the Miner, and now a lot on the board on the right-hand side.
I like that. A really nice high Inferno, going to make it hard to get the Lightning down in time. And since the Lightning has to come down early, then he can late drop the Electro Wizard. And now back in with the Miner, hopefully.
Very, very nicely played by Vitor with 90 seconds left. This time the Ewiz gets the drop on the Sparky and will set up for maybe one more shot. No, doesn't come in. 12:62 to 11:34. Keep an eye on that bottom left-hand tower here, though, Andrew. It's quietly getting some damage for Canario.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually surprising that Canario is in the damage lead on the bottom left-hand tower when it feels like he hasn't really focused on it at all, when most of that damage has come from a response to the Miner on the left.
And decides to pull the trigger on the Lightning. Goblin Giant not going to get through. Hunter should know the Ewiz comes out late to stop it. Miner, Ewiz, Skeletons, Log, really trying to put a lot of pressure on the right-hand side, and that's a not insignificant lead, and look at this, Canario switching lanes.
Yeah, Canario switching lanes now, knowing that he's going to have to deal with just a Miner on the right-hand side, but then really, really put it to Vitor on the left when in terms of him playing defense.
Plenty of Elixir this time around for the Lightning. Second Mega Minion comes in, and that Lightning is huge, but the Inferno Tower does retarget onto the Goblin Giant.
Yeah, everything about Canario's timing just feels a little bit off right now. Miner going in once again to the one spot, and Hunter goes to the inside.
Doing his best to put damage on the left-hand side is Canario, but High Inferno should be enough to secure the win here. Lightning will not catch it up. That's going to be a GG. Well played here. Woo. Very, very close at the end, but Vitor takes game number one.
Really, really close. And you know what? It's so interesting. You and I were talking about stand-up comedians feeling a little bit rusty from not doing sets. The interactions from Canario in this game felt like he was just a little bit rusty with these interactions. It just felt like a couple things were just a little bit out of sync, and that cost him the game.
Yeah, it's a lot of interesting pieces here, including Canario has played Goblin Giant Sparky a lot lately in competitive. So, you know, he seems maybe a little bit out of timing, maybe not as fluid as he was in the first game. And then with a deck that you have to imagine Pain Gaming was prepped for, big time win for Vitor in game 1.
Yeah, really, really nicely prepped for, and it almost got out of hand there. Canario had a few more seconds. Yeah, he would have been maybe able to take it, but here's a few things I love from Vitor. He kept switching lanes and never cared which lane he was going to win with. He played very, very patiently and always saved enough elixir to defend until the final moments. Anytime that Sparky came down, he got poison value on a tower and the Sparky. And then he used his royal delivery to perfection, regularly dropping it right on top of the Sparky to eat up the shot and then support taking down the Goblin Giant. All of these things combined makes him play, or added up to him playing a much better game than Canario.
So now you have Team Liquid in a match point situation for their opponents, in a situation where they could fall to 1-4 on the season, which wouldn't put them out, but would certainly put them way down. And again, we talk about those important losses. If you're shooting for that number 6 spot here, Pain and Liquid could be two competitors for that number 6 spot. So that head-to-head matchup could become very important here.
Well, that's what's crazy about this, is if Liquid loses, they end up with the exact same record as Pain without the head-to-head tiebreaker. And Pain technically has another win that they forfeited. So that's what's really fascinating, is if Pain beats Liquid today, they technically and have been playing a better season all along, which it's not really so much about Pain as it is shocking about Team Liquid.
Yeah, and it all comes back to that 2v2. You win the opening set, and you're already done. We've wrapped the show. We've said, hey, see you next week. Instead, the 2v2 woes continue to punish Team Liquid, and here we are with a match point for Pain Gaming. Let's go, game 2 of the third and final set. Canario maybe going a bit faster this time.
Maybe even taking a page out of his opponent's book.
Faster cycle, slower game here in number 2. Canario's played in just about every league that exists in Clash Royale, especially a lot of the ones over in Spain where it's a huge market for the game. Played in the, whether you call it Q-Lash or Clash with a Q, played in their league, played in SLO, performances in CR Nations. He's been all over the place for a long time. Experienced veteran for Team Liquid.
Yeah, experienced, consistent, very low emotion, very calculated. One of my favorites.
So Graveyard versus Graveyard looking like here between Canario and Vitor. The Giant Slayer, as we dubbed him in Season 1 of CRL EU, led that league in nearly every offensive head-to-head category in 1v1. Games won, sets won, King of the Hill games won, overall head-to-head wins, overall wins. He was an absolute beast. And that's a big part of why Team Liquid put him on the roster, and it certainly paid off last season with a World Championship.
Yeah, it's fun to think about the brilliance of these guys when they were still so young, or at least young to us. You know, you think about people like Canario, Razor, Morton, you know, the names that you and I weren't as familiar with back in 2017 that immediately established themselves as someone to pay attention to, and then now 3 years later have really become the best in the world.
On the other side of it, Vitor, lots of international experience for Portugal, getting second in the 3rd season of World Royale League, helping Portugal get to the top 8 in No-Tilt Worlds.
Ooh,
and this is a big chunk of damage from this Graveyard push.
Yeah, and then you even see there the Skeletons being played at the King Tower, looking for a King Tower activation, but instead should have been played on top of the Graveyard to help with defense, knowing that they were not going to be able to have enough life remaining on that Mega Knight to activate King.
Mega Knight comes in to clean that up and pick up the Mega Minion as it goes towards tower, 1345 to 1785. Vitor with a pretty significant lead as we get closer and closer to sudden death.
Well, just as this game goes on, you'll see that Vitor has so much more beefiness on the board, so much more HP, and of course this Hunter is a really, really frustrating card that does so much damage to that Knight. And really, again, Carnario misses the King Tower activation with those skeletons.
Yeah, just almost too much damage on the Mega Knight at that point. So it's a weird dance you play with the King Tower activation for a Mega Knight. Do you try to DPS it down? You try to activate King? You run a risk either way?
The defense.
And a very...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, a very nice defense. And this time,
oh my
again
goodness.
doesn't get it.
I feel like at that point, you gotta let it go. Your tower is getting so low. It's now gonna be below 1,000 HP. Let the King Tower go and get on offense.
Well, he's going to play the bomb tower here defensively in general. It's the right spot. This time cycles the skeletons in the back. Archers down to the inside, and the Knight goes high to pull the Mega Knight.
Yeah, see, that time you see he gave up on it, goes to just take the Mega Knight out as soon as possible, but still taking a lot of damage and not having the elixir to turn into offense.
You see some
yeah,
crying, a little bit of action from the peanut gallery here, the spectators in game.
And so now, no poison in hand for either of them, but that snowball is going to slow those archers down, and Canario is going to get swept by Vitor.
Oh my word. Vitor with a huge win. Toiled in the semi-pro scene. Won the CCS EU region. Won the Orange Crown League in 2020. And now comes out with his coming out party. A big 2-0 clinching win over Canary.
And look at that smile there. The sigh of relief, and now the smile, as you can imagine what his team is saying to him. So proud of what he's put up in these last couple matches. Let's not forget, he took down Pedro and Belican against Cream, and then here against Team Liquid does it in that 1v1 set against Canario. 2 up, 2 down. Pain Gaming is finally officially back on the board.
Wow, this is just brutal. And you see here, the archers directly in the poison, not played that deep, so the graveyard gets some good damage. The skeletons don't get the King Tower activation. Just a rough day of the ball bouncing the wrong way for Canario in that opening King of the Hill. And here, you think about this. If Canario doesn't disconnect and wins that opening King of the Hill set, I don't think there's any way that we see him in the 1v1.
Yeah.
We get at least 1 win from Canario and King of the Hill, maybe 2, maybe 3, and you send Igor out in the 1v1. Instead, you have a maybe slightly tilted Canario come out, and I understand why Eric did it. Turns out to backfire.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because for someone as great as Canario, it's not really that big of a risk to bring him out instead of Igor. But when you look at it now, hindsight's 2020. When we look back in retrospect, the things we were mentioning before that 1v1 set, he'll either look brilliant or it'll look like it was one of the biggest mistakes that's been made in the season. And now it's starting to look that way. In a must-win match for Team Liquid, you take out the guy who just went 3-0 against definitely at least, I mean, you know he played the guy that's going to come in that 1v1 set. So a bit of a shocker there to pull Igor. He didn't play a mortar deck. We know that he's got a massive, massive deck pool. We both understand the call. We both get it, but it just didn't pay off.
So, Andrew, here's the hard question right now. Team Liquid has remaining Tribe, SK, and Space Station Gaming. Team Liquid also has losses to Chivas and now Pain, 2 teams they might compete with for that number 6 spot in playoffs. Is there any way that Team Liquid, is it possible now that Team Liquid is going to end up out of playoffs when we end this regular season?
I don't think Liquid's going to make World Finals at this point. The fact that we're having the conversation about them not even making playoffs it's shocking, but it's it's a very real situation we're in. They've only won 1 2v2 set. They've struggled so mightily in King of the Hill because of that 2v2 set. They do well in King of the Hill, but the problem is it relies so much on great matchups over and over and over in those head-to-head games. So for me, it feels like this is the end of Liquid's season. Can they still make it to playoffs? Yeah, but if you make it to that 6th spot, all that work is going to be running into the hardest competitors in your next few matches. So it's nothing but uphill here for Team Liquid.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the three teams that they have left. You look at Tribe Gaming, look at SK, look at Space Station. Tribe did show a little crack in the armor today. The loss to Cream.
Yeah.
Space Station hasn't been perfect, but they're still playing on a different level, it seems, right now. So I look at them going through those three matchups, and they're going to lose two of those three, in my opinion, at minimum. It's not going to be easy. If they get into playoffs, they're going to squeak by on a bit of luck and who knows what else.
And you talk about Tribe, facing off against Cream. Cream beating Tribe. Cream also dominated Liquid. So what is Liquid going to do against Tribe that's any different from what we've seen in the past? There's been a lot of that. If A is B, B is C, then A is C for me this season in the logic, but it's actually been paying off. Cream has been a great indicator of that working true. I don't know how Liquid is going to change it up because they have to. Cream dominated them. They dominated Tribe. They dominated Liquid. How does it happen?
I don't know, but let's talk about the other side of it now with Pain Gaming, Andrew. Pain now has a very important win over one of the teams they might compete with for that number 6 spot, and they still have to play against Chivas, who is the other big competitor in that position, and they have the win over Misfits, so Pain Gaming now in the mix. How much does that vacated lot win hurt right now?
Yeah, I mean, and look at this, Rich. Look at us throwing up the goose egg today. What a shocker. We both go Misfits, we both go Tribe, and we both go Team Liquid, all of which find L's today. No one called it. Absolutely no one picked the second and third matchups, which is a big-time shocker, and it speaks a lot about what happened. Cream really did pull off an upset, even though they've been that good this season, and Team Liquid just continuing to unimpress everyone that is supporting them.
Taking a look at the standings right now, up at the top, SK Gaming still 5-0, and a very impressive 5-0 right now for the Western champions from last season's fall split. Team Queso and Dig right behind them. Queso with the advantage because of that differential. And then CRL Betis moves just slightly ahead of Tribe because of that head-to-head. Yeah,
and you look at the bottom half of this, Space Station Gaming still very much in it at 3-2 as well. Pain Gaming squeaks ahead of Team Liquid, obviously the vacated win, but still less losses in their books, put them even in set differential, but ahead when it comes to matchup. Liquid 1-4, Chivas Esports 1-4, and the Bad Bunnies in 10th place at 0-5, looking to most likely just play a playoff dream ruiner here moving forward. What an incredible weekend we had, and what a shocker for Team Liquid.
It looks like it's going to be very, very difficult for any of those bottom 4 teams to break into the top 6. And speaking of those top 6, top player, the MVP of the weekend, Andrew, you agree here, Ruben, with the performance he put up today or yesterday?
I mean, the performance he's put up the entire season. The one thing that's so impressive about Ruben that makes us really have to give him the MVP is he feels like he's been doing all of this on his own. Yes, his team has helped here and there, but no one player has been doing so much for their team and has had so much success. SK's been sharing the load, so has Dignitas, Cream, and Tribe, but Team Queso feels like it has solely been Ruben making them, willing them to that second place spot.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you look at the work that he's done to lift, the work that Belican has done to lift, another good candidate for that MVP discussion this weekend. Him doing it against Tribe and what we saw out of Ruben yesterday. So a lot of top tier performances. Andrew, going back to that overall standing situation, when you look at the lower half of those top 6, right? Mm-hmm. You look at teams like Tribe and Cream and Space Station. A lot of them have also already played each other. So you take a look at that situation where you go, the only way for any of those bottom 4 teams to break through is to beat those teams in the top 6, and it's looking harder and harder as time goes on.
And as we get farther and farther into this, we're going to see as we look at next week's matches, the matchup differential is going to be massive. We're going to have number 1 going up against number 10 and things like that. So here we go. Queso going up against Dignitas. That's going to be a great one. We're going to see who's going to round out that top 3. But then this is more of what I'm talking about. Tribe facing off against Liquid. That's top against the bottom, and then again up back at the top, CRL Betis facing off against Space Station Gaming. So a lot of things are going to be told next Saturday about our playoff picture. Rich, let's talk about Sunday.
Sunday double duty for Queso up against Chivas Esports. So It should be a good win for Queso, but that 2v2 of Chivas certainly is concerning for the cheesy ones. In the middle, Dignitas in their second matchup get Pain Gaming, who might have some mojo now with that big shift of Lucas into the 2v2. And then finally, SK Gaming looks to go 5-0 against a squad that still has not yet found a win this season, hoping to not go 0-6 Misfits.
Yeah, both those squads 3-1 and pulling a double header. Gotta grab someone for Fantasy Royale from Dignitas or Queso. Why not both? Always something to look for there when you are setting your Fantasy Royale lineup. And you know, it's going to be very fascinating to see how that 3-1 matchup faces off because, like we said, Ruben doing it all on his own, Dignitas a much more shared load. Is there one team that feels like they have a stronger advantage?
That's a tough one. I mean, how do you bet against Ruben? How do you do it? It seems like he's able to beat anyone, anywhere, anytime. The big question is going to be, what do Kuchi and Benny do in 2v2? Codigo and Flash are good. Are they that much better than Kuchi and Benny? I think that I give it a 60-40, maybe 55-45 advantage to Dig in the 2v2, and that's not enough, in my opinion, to carry them over Team Queso.
All right, guys, make sure those notifications are turned on YouTube and over on Twitch. You're following us, you're subscribed, and again, notifications on. Ring that bell. Fantasy Royale, how'd you do? Did you have Ruben? Maybe yes, maybe no. Did your team play very well? Did you get 11 points yesterday like Rich and I? I don't know. Tell us online. Make sure to change those lineups, reset them before next weekend. Again, Team Queso and Dignitas, probably some players you want to pull from both of those squads in the lasting break time battles next week. Pompeo is the man to beat. StatsRoyale.com. Top 50 get on the leaderboards. Top 5 get a little bit of swag. And of course, number 1 gets to face off against the pro right here live on stream. You saw Saint Belican there taking down Guerrero. Good luck to you, our friend Guerrero. Thank you so much for playing those break time battles.
Talking about next Saturday, Andrew, we're back here 10 a.m. in the West, 1 p.m. in the East, 7 p.m. Central European time. You have 3 matches that day. Queso Dig, the 3-1-3-1. Liquid versus Tribe. Cream versus Space Station Gaming. What is the most impactful, most important match of next Saturday?
I think the opening and the closing are everything, but for me, it's all about that opening match, Rich.
Guys, we'll see you back here next weekend for more Clash Royale League West. That's Andrew Guy. I'm Rich.